99,990 off.
Be there in no time.
Yeah.
You know, we're not inflammatory or aghast enough for Rumble.
You know, I've been listening to this guy who does a Rumble show, Disaffected. Josh Holcomb is his name. He's great, man. All the culture war stuff, he says everything the way that I wish I could think of saying it, if that makes sense. He crucifies people. Not in biblical terms, but just with his words. He's a word crucifier. I don't know. I'd give it a listen. Disaffected. He does a show on Rumble, though. That's what I think about it.
All right. Well, let's think about ours. Sound good? Systems go?
Systems go over here. Everything is going according to plan.
Let's get it on.
It must be quite apparent by this time to any thinking individual that the people of our country and people of other countries all over the world are coming to face a moment of grave decision. A time when we will choose the course of our future.
Oklahoma, Texas, New York, Philadelphia, around the world, it's going to be a big nut bust.
The Millennial Media Offensive podcast is now live.
That's right. It's April 28th, 2026. You're listening to MMO number 216. And from the great city and state of St. Louis, Missouri, I'm Dan Gehring.
And from America's South Coast, where, let me check my notes. Yes, things are happening. I'm John G. Dew.
Happening all around, happening with the weather, happening in the oil markets. Everything's happening all at once. It's a good day to be a podcaster.
Are you podcasting from the FEMA shelter?
Not yet. Yesterday was hairy. Our tornado sirens went off 3 separate times, and it was a big nothing burger. We ended up getting a total of an inch of rain, and everything missed way north of St. Louis.
That's quite the nothing burger.
Yeah. So it was like max velocity's like, St. Louis, this one's coming to you. It's coming at you. And I'm outside, and it's like sunny. And when? Where?
Well, St. Louis is quite a large place to say it's coming at you.
It's true. It is true. It was hitting like way north, places that you wouldn't even consider technically St. Louis. You could probably consider them closer to Mali or Sudan than you would St. Louis. That's
geographically, of course.
Yes, it is a comment on the violence and not the color. But there is a correlation. I can't lie about that.
Well, I'm glad you haven't been blown away by the weather.
How about you?
By
Did you get
gunfire?
Or by gunfire. Did you get any of the tornado action?
No, we didn't have any tornadoes around me, but we did have probably the loudest thunder I've ever heard.
Yeah.
So much so that it woke me up, and it's hard to do. That's difficult. For the weather to wake me up is quite difficult, and it woke my wife and I up early morning hours.
We had
Friday, maybe Saturday.
We had that on Monday where it sounded like bombs were going off, like things were getting hit, and the house.
Well, I don't know, Dan. Maybe they were.
It's possible. It is possible. Are we under attack? Then I check my phone and see that, no, we are not.
Yes. Along with Have the Red Heifers Been Sacrificed.com, we have AreWeUnderAttack.com.
That one constantly says maybe. It's possible.
Maybe.
Could happen.
In more ways than one.
That's right. Yep. Not in a war sense, but metaphorically, yes. So, big news today, too, happening.
Yes.
Huge news, actually. And I need to make amends for last week when I was talking about the physical versus paper. I said, oh, well, the paper, oil, I should say, paper oil. So there's a big spread that was happening between oil futures, which is paper oil, and physical oil, which would be the spot price for oil. And today, the spot price for oil dropped to where the paper was. And last week, I had told you it's going to be the opposite way, but I had no way of knowing that the news that came out of this morning was going to cause that to happen.
You should have known.
I know.
You should have known.
I should have known that, this is obvious market manipulation, insider trading, which no one will go to jail for. And I should have followed it. I should have followed that and said, well, somebody obviously knows that something big is going to happen in oil. And it happened.
Yes, it did. And we're obviously referring to the UAE withdrawing from OPEC, a founding member.
That's right.
Of the oil cartel.
Sure, you've got some clips on that, but
I do.
Yeah, it was a shocking news, to say the least, this morning, and gives a lot of ammo to the 3D chess community.
Were you shocked?
I wasn't like blown away. I was like, I kind of saw the headline and go, that's interesting. And then I thought, how can I profit from this? So.
Yes. Buy stocks.
Yeah, any of them.
No. Yeah, any of them. Yeah, because not to undercut any future analysis that we'll do after we do these clips, but I have to take this as a sign that the Emiratis believe the war is over.
The Emiratis probably believe the war is over. I think we've talked about kind of the dealings between the UAE and Saudi Arabia and Yemen.
And not always friendly.
Not always friendly. There's supposed to be a big meeting of OPEC, I think, either tomorrow or the next day. And they did it right before that. So the whole Gulf State Alliance, the Arab NATO that we're talking about, this kind of doesn't really, throw it, bombing it entirely. But it is a clear sign that we're going to be control of our future. And they waited for probably a time when the oil market was already in chaos to not be blamed for causing chaos in the oil market. So,
yes, they're being very diplomatic about it. And their line is, we did this at the best time for everyone. And they're also behind the scenes being diplomatic about it because the UAE's equivalent of a foreign minister met with Russian officials, Sergei Lavrov actually, 4 days ago. So they were getting the word out that this is their plan, because if it had been more of a shock, I would have been inclined to think that it was an attack on Russia, basically, an economic attack on Russia to try to ramp up UAE production and take market share from Russia before all of this geopolitical shakeup plays out. But the fact that they met with Russia tells me that it's not really that deep. It's just the UAE knowing that there's market share to be had, and they can best fight for that market share outside of OPEC. Yeah,
I've got a separate segment related to oil, but it goes into effect on the same exact day that the UAE leaving OPEC and OPEC Plus goes into effect as well. And I think it's related, and I think it involves Russia. So it's very interesting things that are happening right now. I have some background clips, basically some just news clips about this. First one is UAE leaves OPEC.
The United Arab Emirates has announced that it's going to withdraw from the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. That includes the bloc's broader alliance, OPEC Plus. Now, that move comes as Gulf countries face unprecedented economic disruption after the U.S. and Israel war on Iran. The UAE has released a statement saying this decision aligns with the UAE's long-term strategic economic vision and the development of its energy sector. It's also driven by national interests and the country's commitment to actively contributing to meeting the urgent needs of the market stemming from disruptions in the Arabian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, which impact supply dynamics. The stability of the global energy system depends on the availability of flexible, reliable, and affordable supplies.
Okay. I like the way that guy speaks.
Yes, it's very nice.
Very elegant.
So I shook these clips up a little bit. They're not in the order. If you follow the show notes, they're not in the exact order that you'll watch the video. But I thought it was pertinent to throw this in there for any listeners who may just be coming on the scene or learning about these dynamics that we talk about. This is just titled, What Is It?
Here's a closer look at what OPEC actually is. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries was formed in 1960 by Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela, but it expanded to include the UAE, Algeria, Libya, Nigeria, Gabon, Equatorial Guinea, and the Republic of Congo. OPEC members are responsible for around 40% of the world's oil. That could be more than 30 million barrels a day. The group meets to set oil production targets and to manage global oil prices for the group. OPEC Plus combines the original members with an additional 10 countries, including major oil producer Russia.
Yeah, I had read they were part of this OPEC before even the UAE was founded as a country in 1971. They were like brought in by the Emirati of Abu Dhabi.
Okay. That's interesting. Did you see the chart that I sent you?
I do. Yeah, I got it pulled up on the stream right now.
Very good. I think it provides useful context. So, of course, we have to get the take of a strategist anytime something like this happens. So let's hear that strategist take now.
Kingsmill Bond is an energy strategist at Ember Futures. He explains this decision for us in greater detail.
It is a very clever moment to do it when there's an oil shortage anyway, and therefore they are preparing themselves clearly for the period after the war, because now that we've obviously reached peak oil demand and we're entering into a new environment, they want to be free from the constraints of OPEC to do what they need to do. The UAE is, I would suggest, preparing for a world after the Iran war where oil demand is in decline and OPEC's power to maintain control and discipline will consequently be weaker. And it's a very rational move on their part.
Very rational, indeed.
Very rational. I believe so too. And when you're a nation like the UAE, you're in a cartel like this for a reason. You have to be very deliberate and strategic to maximize this incredible wealth that you have as a small nation. So they didn't just do this on a whim. You know, they can't just run around throwing their weight around the world like the U.S. can. So this is very calculated. Okay, so let's of course, this is, I believe this was a BBC production, and they are, no, Al Jazeera, I'm sorry. It's an Al Jazeera production, and they're going to discuss Europe's potential concern with this move.
Let's bring in Al Jazeera's Dominic Kane. He's live for us in Berlin. What are we to make of that statement, Dominic?
On the face of it, it's something that really concerns the United Arab Emirates. Why should people in Europe really be concerned about it? Well, for several simple reasons. This continent is already experiencing a certain degree of concern at the governmental level about the supply of oil and other fuels. Several different countries in different ways have been intimating they fear a shortage of different kinds of oil cropping up in the course of the next few months. Certainly the Swedes were the latest to express a degree of concern. Their economy minister was speaking precisely about the topic today, saying that jet fuel is something to really be concerned about. So when you then bring it back to the stated reasons for that departure of a founder country, as my colleague was just alluding.
What is he reporting from the Indy 500?
No, he was attacked by a swarm of bees.
Apparently.
Then you get the sense that here in this continent, at least, there's great concern, as I was saying. And why does it matter in this continent? Well, OPEC is based in Vienna, in Austria, and they will be meeting. OPEC and OPEC Plus will be meeting in Vienna tomorrow, where on the face of it, it will be the last time where the emissary, the ambassador from the UAE will take their seats and look around the table at the other members and consider, well, I will be leaving there, but from Friday, no more UAE representation in OPEC or in OPEC Plus, organizations that the UAE has been involved in for decades.
Decades, indeed. So I think the timing of all of this is very interesting. They leave today. This is clearly a slap to Saudi Arabia, like a diplomatic kind of slap in the face, a little bit.
Yeah, yes, and I'm going to say this because I think it's obvious, but I was delighted to hear it in the next segment that I'm going to bring as for clips. There's another strategist or analyst who makes this point, and I was very happy to hear it being made. This is going to increase tension with Saudi Arabia.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the major goals. And the UAE, for people that may not know, has been strengthening relations with the United States and Israel, both of those two countries. And kind of they had that skirmish a little bit in Sudan and then also in Yemen between the two kind of shadow factions that they were backing in Yemen and similar circumstances in Sudan. But I think right now, because that clip was Europe focused, and keep in mind, they say they're meeting tomorrow, which is Wednesday, the 29th of April. And by Friday, which is the 1st of May, they're officially out of OPEC. They're done with OPEC entirely. So that's May 1st, which is interesting because Europe is concerned about energy shortages. And you had mentioned the Russians had met with the UAE a couple of days before this move.
Yes, they've also recently met with the foreign minister of Iran, but that can more easily be explained by, the war.
Right. So Russia has decided that they're going to stop supplying Kazakh oil through the Druzhba pipeline to Germany.
Oh, nice.
And guess what day they're going to stop doing that?
May 1st.
May 1st. Have a listen to this.
Also this hour, Russia says it will halt the supply of Kazakh crude oil to Germany via the Druzhba pipeline starting May 1st. The move could test Europe's energy resilience at a time of heightened global uncertainty due to the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Druzhba is a key facility that provides the bulk of fuel to Berlin and surrounding regions. The refinery currently depends on Kazakh oil for about 17% of its supplies. Last year alone, more than 2 million metric tons of Kazakh crude were delivered to Germany through the northern branch of the Druzhba pipeline. The Druzhba pipeline is one of the world's largest oil pipeline networks, stretching over 5,500 kilometers. It begins in Russia's Almeyvetsk region, carrying oil from Serbia, that is Siberia, and the Urals. It then splits at Mozyr in Belarus. The northern division of the Druzhba pipeline continues to play a strategic role in supplying Russian crude oil to Belarus, Germany, and Poland. Russia's deputy prime minister attributed the decision to technical reasons, but he did not.
But he did not specify. No, it wasn't technical reasons. It was strategic reasons. And the May 1st date, it was just like sealed it. May Day, which is a celebration, a military celebration in Russia too. So I think they're stunting on Europe right now.
Well, am I incorrect here in thinking the origin of May Day is communist in nature?
No, I think you are absolutely correct. May Day communism.
International Workers' Day.
Yeah, that's fancy speak for commies, for sure. I know because our like socialists of America have some sort of celebration or protest on May Day every year around here.
Yeah. Well, this goes a long way in explaining why. What's his name? Merz. Germany's Merz. I can't think of his first name.
Yeah, Frederick.
Friedrich Merz. This goes a long way in explaining why over the last, I think it was yesterday or day before, he was very critical of the U.S. strategy in Iran with regards to Iran. He basically said there was no strategy.
Yeah.
And it started a war of words between he and Donald Trump. But this explains it. I mean, Merz has no recourse. He's dare I say, he's lashing out.
That's right. He's his attack, another attack on Donald Trump with his words. No, I think you're right. I think it is interesting. I think Europe realizes how screwed they are, and I think Russia and the UAE and the United States have coordinated this in a way. And I'm hesitant to say, are the Tom Luongos, the 40 chess people of the world, are they right? It has this all been a very strategic move. It's hard to say, really.
But it appears to be shaping up to be just that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
now we could get a piece of news in the next 5 minutes that could contradict that. But the fact, to me, the fact that we haven't had to put significant boots on the ground in Iran and carry out an actual ground invasion, and we're achieving this with missile strikes and a blockade, and it's having such wide-ranging effects that in the medium and long term do benefit the U.S., I can't be too critical of the administration for it, seeing how it's played out.
Yeah. It's poetic in nature. We've talked about the Caspian transit route and how it seemed like it was very well orchestrated and all these deals coming together. And all this various strategy, the American system we talked about, and I felt like it went out the window with the Iraq war, because it really didn't feel like there was a communicated plan, and there still hasn't been a communicated objective out of the White House. Not a clear one that is understood by the masses at all. But yeah, if they pull this off,
I mean, how would you communicate this? We try to communicate it to people, and look at how popular we are.
I know. Well, so I mean, are you referring to like reports this week that now actual journalists are reporting that Iran is hurting from the blockade? That it's because I saw your newsletter and it seemed like that was the angle you were taking, a little bit, and then.
Well, it's not even the journalistic angle of it. It's just the fact that they've reached the point where they're going to have to start doing permanent damage to their own infrastructure if something doesn't change. And as far as I'm concerned, anyone who isn't a blind radical will see that you can't allow that to happen. If you truly want the best for Iran, at some point you have to admit that you're beat. You can't allow your country's future for the next century to be hamstrung because you don't want to be humiliated today. And what I'm referring to, what you're asking me about and what I'm referring to for anyone who didn't get the newsletter, and by the way, you can sign up for the newsletter at mmo.show/newsletter with your email. But what I'm referring to is the fact that Iran's oil infrastructure, its storage infrastructure specifically, is getting full to the point that they are going to either have to start dumping oil, which no one is talking about. You can always just dump oil. You can do that. Or they're going to have to start shutting in wells, which means producing less than what the well has capacity to produce. And that creates a pressure imbalance in the system. And that pressure imbalance can have very very detrimental effects in the here and now. And it can also make the well itself less productive in the future when you try to bring it back up to capacity. It's a terrible place to be.
And they find themselves there.
Yes. And here's the thing. It's not a matter of, well, why can't they sell it? They can't get it out. And they can't get it out fast enough. There have been videos coming out of trains carrying oil up through northeastern Iran into toward China. I'll say toward China. But you can't freight enough oil to keep the entire oil industry pumping at full capacity. They rely heavily on shipping oil out of the country. And as long as we're turning those ships back, that oil has to go somewhere.
We should steal it for ourselves.
Well, it's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Right.
But part of the negotiation could be the U.S. purchasing oil at a steeply discounted rate from Iran. I don't know if anyone's thinking about that, but it should definitely be on the table as part of a peace settlement.
I'm looking at the amount of oil. So,
and then we sell it to Europe.
That's not a bad idea. Like the LNG. Oh yeah, stop buying it from the Russians. Buy it from us. We have to ship it across, so it's going to be about 9 times the price, but it's worth it. Trust me. United States consumes about 20.6 million barrels of oil per day. And what was it? The UAE is producing something like 3. They want to go to 5, but they currently are doing 3.
What are we doing, math?
Yeah, it's dangerous territory.
I know, even for the administration.
Yeah, 3.6 they were prior to the war, and now they're currently putting out 2.3. So, a tenth of our oil supply could come from the UAE.
I mean, I think you... Now, who knows where the oil supply will go from the UAE, but the UAE will benefit. They're going to benefit handsomely.
Oh, absolutely. Because they're no longer consigned to following the production rules that OPEC lays out. They can do whatever they want, and they're going to do whatever they want. The finance minister came out and said, "Oh, we're not going to shock oil prices. This is nothing against Saudi Arabia." He said all the diplomatic high points that you would expect somebody in his position to say. But I think all of those things are apparent that what he's saying is wrong. It is a slap against the face of Saudi Arabia, and it's probably going to shake up oil prices, as pointed out in the physical versus paper oil charts suggest today.
Yeah, I still, how long do you think this goes on? I mean, it's really, I think the shot clock in play here is Iran's storage capacity. If they're projecting that they have a week of production storage available, then they've got 1 week to get something moving. And I mean, get ships moving as fast as possible through the Strait of Hormuz into whomsoever's hands will buy it, which I think is why the U.S. should say, we'll buy it. We'll buy it. We'll give you $15 a barrel. We'll buy it. And then, sell it to Europe at market price. Just ship it straight to European ports. And then the Trump administration will have all of this excess money to send out war stipends to the citizenry, and they won't have any concern about the midterms.
I don't know, man. The midterms to me have been lost for a long time, but it would
you
take
send everybody $2,500 and tell me the midterms are lost.
That's true. I could use $2,500, and the gas prices wouldn't hurt so much. But that is something that I wouldn't put behind Donald Trump doing.
Well, let's continue with these OPEC clips. Let's keep trudging along. I thought about Canada, and I rarely think about Canada. I'm sorry, but I don't often think about Canada.
I forgot about them.
It's when you're looking around the house for your hat and you can't find it, and then, you pass a mirror and you're like, oh, there it is.
There it is.
But I thought about Canada because there's been a little bit of reporting and some people throwing some ideas out there about, well, if the U.S. is turning its back on the U.K. and Europe, can Canada save it? Can Canada come to the rescue of Europe? And I look at this and I grin at it and I'm amused the same way that I'm amused when I watch my child play. But Canada has there is some top tier analysis here coming out of Canada, and this is from the guest on this is going to be from the Macdonald Laurier Institute, and it's a conservative, basically think tank, a policy center in Canada. But before we get to that, I have a setup clip. This is OPEC setup. This is from the CBC, of all places, that are going to feature a conservative policy outfit. But let's do the setup first.
Drilling down now into the breaking news about OPEC. The United Arab Emirates, a key member of the oil cartel, is pulling out, exiting as of May 1st. The UAE is pointing to uncertainty from the effective shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz because of the war between the U.S. and Iran. The strait is the main route for the country to ship out its oil, but the UAE also moves oil through a major pipeline that bypasses the strait. A London-based energy market analyst says the UAE leaving OPEC would cut the cartel's capacity by about 15%.
Yeah, I noticed that everyone calls them the cartel now. I guess I hadn't realized that until this very day. The oil cartel.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. The C does not stand for cartels, though. It stands for countries. Anyway, let's continue. This is the analyst I was talking about from the Macdonald Laurier Institute.
Okay.
Joining us now from Calgary is Heather Exner-Pirot. She's a senior fellow and the director of energy, natural resources and environment at the Macdonald Laurier Institute. Heather, thank you so much for jumping in on this breaking story. How should we think about the UA leaving OPEC?
Well, it's obviously in the context of the larger Iranian crisis. And I guess it's another signal that energy markets are going to be changed forever, that we are fundamentally changing things. OPEC will be weakened. I think for UAE, they're seeing an opportunity. Maybe they've been thinking about it for a while to be able to grow production on their own timeline.
Yes, it seems that they have been thinking about this, although they didn't consult with anybody, didn't signal that they were going to pull out at this tumultuous
I think they did.
time. What does it mean for oil prices?
Yeah, so I think the market reacted, with prices dropping a little bit. And that is an expectation that OPEC has, quite an important balancing role in the market, that it does prevent prices from dropping too much. It does prevent oversupply. That's not obviously a problem right now. We have a lot of undersupply, but maybe in anticipation that there won't be as much discipline in the market going forward, that there could be more flooding, that there could be more price wars. But obviously, UAE is looking at that this is a time where it would want to grow market share, does not want to be restricted by Saudi Arabia and how and when it does that. And so taking this opportunity of this disruption to try something different.
Okay, very good. All very good. She is from Calgary, which explains some of it. But, I was a little dismissive a second ago when I was talking about how Canada could save Europe. I don't think Canada can save Europe, but Canada can absolutely benefit from everything we're doing.
Explain.
We're creating market share in the oil industry. Canada should and probably has already been all over this. Now, it probably hasn't gotten much play because your benevolent rulers in Canada don't want to take credit for trying to capture more market share in the oil industry. But hopefully, Canadian companies have jumped on this and benefited from it. And also, just, I mean, at a very fundamental level, if the U.S. is thriving, which I know you can argue as far as the economy goes is debatable, but I think we're getting a clearer picture of the potential for really good things economically in the short to medium term. Canada should also benefit. There's no reason they shouldn't. And I was hearing a few weeks ago about
so much winning.
So much winning. You're going to get sick of winning. I was hearing the other day about how NAFTA was up for renegotiation. I haven't heard anything else about that since maybe a week and a half ago. Have you heard anything about NAFTA recently?
No. Wasn't it renamed to something?
Yes, it was. It was, and I can't think of what it is. One America. No,
USMCA.
USMCA. MCA negotiations. Let's see here. 13 days ago, they're about more than trade. Ooh, foreign automakers threaten to pull cheapest models from U.S. without trade deal. What are we looking at? What are we losing here? Let's see.
The Ford Focus.
Well, they're not specifying what models we might lose. This is a trash report.
It's like Nissan is mentioned in the article. Honda, Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. So no more Toyota Corollas, no more Honda Civics, and no more Nissan Altimas.
Okay, well, USMCA talks are ongoing, and we might have more high-profile news out of USMCA talks in the short future. But back to the point, this is the part of this analysis that caught my attention, and it's the effect on Saudi Arabia.
Obviously, a big change in the cartel for that country. How will they react?
So Saudi Arabia is the biggest producer, and it has had the most power in OPEC in determining, because it's able to really balance and add and subtract supply. So it's a big swing producer and could dictate a little bit where OPEC went. Obviously, UAE didn't want to be that little brother to Saudi Arabia, did not want Saudi Arabia to have that kind of control. And so this is obviously a blow to Saudi Arabia's leadership in OPEC, into its ability to manage, what the cartel does. And so you can expect that this increases tension amongst those neighbors going forward.
Thank you. I'm so glad you went to whatever school you did to say that that's going to increase tension between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates.
Be nice. Nobody else is saying it except for us. But,
The tension's already been increased, woman. Have you heard about Yemen?
All right. Well, that's all I have on OPEC. Do you have any parting thoughts?
I think there's obviously we're looking at the risk board once again, and people are taking whatever they can, trying to gain independence. And what I kept thinking back to over this news was when Trump went there at the beginning of his administration and talked about, the people of the region deciding the future of the region, right? Focused on that.
Yes.
And it kind of seemed like he was giving a nod to Saudi Arabia to become the new United States of the Middle East. And there's been tension with Israel and Saudi Arabia a little bit. They're partners within the Abraham Accords. But I think the UAE looked at that and said, well, we don't want to, and to her credit, I know I just made fun of her, but, I don't want to be the little brother here. I want to control my own destiny. And so I think it puts that Gulf Arab, the Arab NATO, a little bit on the ice for the time being. And the UAE had come out, I think yesterday or the day before, and made comments about how weak Saudi Arabia's response was for Iran, or towards Iran, to what happened. I believe that was the UAE that made those comments, and then today leaves OPEC, and then has the brass balls to go on Bloomberg and say, yeah, nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. It's just our own decision. So, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think the relationships that the U.S. and Israel have both formed with the UAE over the last 5 years tells me that there's more to it than just the UAE in a glass vacuum deciding to leave OPEC. There's some strategy here that involves the United States.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine the United States doesn't look favorably on this.
No. And whoever shorted the futures market obviously knew about something in the works there. So we should look at who's buying their 9th cottage in Congress.
I think that was a dollar figure much larger than one person in Congress.
You're probably right.
I think we're going to get probably a book in the future and some interesting panel discussions from Scott Bessent on how the Treasury supported geopolitical moves of the United States in this era.
Right. Well,
people forget that Bessent worked for Soros, and that's something you should always keep in mind. Not because Soros bad. No, you should keep that in mind because the entire reason Soros is well known in financial markets is because he crashed the pound. I don't want to say he manipulated. I mean, you could probably say that and get away with it, but he played the market to the point that he made a fortune on currency. I think currency swaps on the pound. And this is the same kind of action. When you're using the power of a nation state's financial system, which is speculation that this is the Treasury doing this, but if you're using the power of a nation state's Treasury to play and control commodities markets, that reeks of someone who learned under George Soros.
Well, job well done, because it seems like this amount of chaos that's been happening in Iran now has that in hindsight 2020, it's all part of a grander strategy. So, but that's not all of the oil kind of news that happened this past week. I started a thing. I used to just pull clips on Monday night, like look at what happened, what I've been following and whatnot. I've recently
too much going on for that.
Yeah, exactly. I recently started, trying to pull a clip a day. And so on Wednesday, I saw this piece of information. I didn't realize how kind of interesting it was in the grand scheme of things overall. But when we talk about like oil and the importance of energy, I don't think people really grasp. I mean, it is important, and it's obviously what nation states need to continue to function and be nation states. But the pull of it is super important. So this is a story about the Druzhba pipeline, but this time is going to be the Ukrainian portion of the Druzhba pipeline. If you recall, prior to the election in Hungary that unseated Viktor Orban and replaced him with Magyar, he refused this $90 billion euro loan to Ukraine because he said that they were manipulating the Druzhba pipeline and not fixing it and purposely not fixing it to get him to vote for this 90 billion euro. And they all accused him. They said it was a baseless accusation and whatnot. So Magyar gets elected, last week, the week before? Not long, 2 weeks ago.
No, not long at all.
Right. Then this story hits on Wednesday. And I said, oh my God, Viktor Orban was right.
Russian oil flowed through the Ukrainian section of the Druzhba pipeline on Wednesday, according to Hungarian oil group MOL. The resumption allowed Hungary to lift its veto on a $105 billion EU loan urgently needed by Kiev. The Druzhba pipeline has become one of the most politically charged pieces of infrastructure in Europe. Oil flows to Hungary and Slovakia were suspended after a Russian drone strike damaged the pipeline in western Ukraine in January. Shortly after the pumping began, EU ambassadors meeting in Brussels approved the loan.
Well, I think it will not be easy at all.
Karen Karlsbro is a Swedish member of the European Parliament.
The Ukrainian needs are huge, are still enormous, and we have to provide them with a much larger financial support, also a more sustainable support.
The European Union's 27 member states are expected to formally sign off on it by Thursday afternoon. Ukrainian President...
So, Thursday afternoon is when this vote is. Wednesday, before the vote, the oil starts to flow.
This is great, honestly, because it just shows you, and this is probably lost on a lot of people, and there's probably not even a lot of people that are talking about the Druzhba pipeline, but we are... And we have been, and you, if you've been listening, you know what it is, unless you just forgot that segment, which happens. But anyway, this is great, because if you didn't think the Ukrainians were scoundrels before this,
right,
you should believe that now. They were telling Hungary, no, we're not doing anything. This is all Russian attacks. We're not manipulating the flows. It's not us. You're like you said, baseless. We do nothing wrong. And then you get this, a week. Oh, well, I guess it's fixed.
We got it. Hey, about that vote tomorrow. What do you think? You gonna get it? So yeah, it was. I have to imagine that the Ukrainian holding of the oil was probably organized with Ursula von der Leyen or EU leadership to put pressure on the Orban regime and get him out of office.
On an EU member.
Yeah. Political warfare on an EU member to get him out. And now you've got your puppet Magyar in there, and he's like, yep, we'll fast track that loan right now. Thanks for the oil.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's totally believable. It's a head shaker.
One day.
Because you're trying to sell this vision of a unified Europe, a Europe that can compete on the world stage. All you have to do is sign over your nation's sovereignty to Germany, and Europe will be unified and in a better place. And then you get this.
I love that. Out of, the 11 world wars that we've had, Germany has been the bad guy each time, and now all of Europe is signing all their rights over to Germany once again. The strong
that's
state.
An old clip. That's from January.
The World War 11?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, it was making the rounds this week. I just thought it was pretty funny. Elon Omar on the number of world wars we've had.
The last time the Alien Enemies Act was invoked, it was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI.
She does correct herself, but
You're
that's
right
not worth much.
Yeah. I cut that out. It was in the clip. I cut it out.
Yes, and by the way, it is not pronounced Ilhan. I learned this today. It's 11-han.
11-han. Perfect. Hey, you just got a little crispy. Little crispy chicken. Come on down to Wendy's.
All right.
11-han. I love that.
Okay. Well, I mean, do you have anything else to say about the Druzhba and Hungary and Ukraine?
I don't know. I had so many different seemingly random clips that kind of pulled together. I guess while we're on the topic of these routes and whatnot, there's a meeting. I forget what kind of council it was, but it was about the Caspian trade route, which we've been talking about. We talked about it last week. People were starting to realize, hey, now that this Hormuz is blocked, we should probably figure out other paths around it so this doesn't happen again. And so I just pulled this random clip from this week I think it was a DW clip, and it's about the Caspian transit route, which, if you would...
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
And find the Caspian Sea, which is next to Azerbaijan and Armenia.
As global energy routes shift and geopolitical tensions reshape supply chains, the Caspian region is becoming increasingly strategic. The Caspian and Central Asia Oil Trading and Logistics Forum is the latest platform to discuss the challenges that lie ahead.
As you know, Azerbaijan is a really gate for the movement between East and West, and investment into this part of the world is a crucial and important, and particularly in the highlighting with the geopolitical situations.
The Middle Corridor links Central Asia to Europe through the Caspian Sea, South Caucasus and Turkey. As traditional supply chains face disruption, governments and companies are looking to diversify transport routes and reduce geopolitical risk.
80% of oil goes via CPC pipeline, Caspian Pipeline Consortium. That's why Middle Corridor, as I said, is very important, and definitely Kazakhstan is seeking alternative roads and investors who can support this road.
Azerbaijan sits at the center of that corridor, connecting oil and refined products from Central Asia and the Caspian Basin to global markets through pipelines, ports and rail networks.
Work with the governments, these area governments, it would help all round, and it would be a hedge against these volatile, significant costs that go up for the individual companies. It would be much better for them.
But expanding capacity remains a major challenge, from port infrastructure to rail connections and shipping across the Caspian Sea, both westwards and east.
I think that the Central Asian countries need to look at Pakistan specifically and South Asia in general in terms of investing in infrastructure to bring their gas down south.
As governments and companies search for more resilient supply chains, the race to develop new corridors across Eurasia is accelerating, placing the Caspian region firmly on the global energy map. Nadira Tudor, Euronews, Baku.
Firmly.
Yes, and who has been helping with Iran negotiations?
Pakistan. What's interesting is that they talk about, getting over to the stans. When they talk about Central Asia, it is what we called all of the stans in August of 2025 when we were talking about this very topic. So the events, it makes everything that is happening seem more intentional with Iran and all of that. I lost faith in the process a little bit, but today it seems like, hey, maybe there is a grand scheme after all. So,
yes, you're looking out the left side of the bus today.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, I feel like we should talk, and I know you may think we're hopping around a little bit, but I think we should talk about this shooting. Do you have any clips about the shooting that happened at the Correspondents' Dinner?
I've got the kind of a rundown from CBS about the events that happened, and then kind of a little talk on the manifesto, and then something on the conspiracies as well.
Well, let's do the first two of yours, then mine, Correspondents' Dinner shooting, and then the conspiracy stuff last.
Okay. CBS, this is a rundown of the events.
CBS News chief correspondent Matt Gutman was inside the ballroom when shots were heard. Matt, you quickly pulled out your phone to document in real time what it felt like from where you were. You join us now from outside the hotel. What are we learning about the suspect and his potential motive this morning?
Our sources are telling us right now that the suspect used the size of the Washington Hilton, which you can see sort of spanning that block behind me, to his advantage. There are multiple staircases, and they say he went down them to evade security, carrying that bag full of weapons. Now, you mentioned those writings earlier. He expressed deep anger at the administration, and also in those writings, he said he was targeting administration officials from highest ranking to lowest.
It was just after 8:30 p.m. Saturday when a sudden commotion from the back of the White House Correspondents' Dinner sent us scrambling, many ducking under tables as Secret Service rushed the president and other Trump cabinet members from the room.
It's absolute mayhem inside. Reports of some sort of shots. I was sitting 3 rows up from the president.
Less than 2 hours later, President Trump posted surveillance footage of the suspect racing through a Secret Service checkpoint toward the ballroom. and these images of him shirtless and handcuffed on the floor. Law enforcement sources tell CBS News the suspect is 31-year-old Cole Allen, a teacher from Southern California who was awarded Teacher of the Month at a college prep academy in December of 2024. He left for Washington from Los Angeles by train last Tuesday, checking into the Washington Hilton on Friday, just a day before the dinner.
He was armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives.
Police said the suspect exchanged fire with law enforcement. He was not hit, but a Secret Service officer was. Officials told us by shotgun pellets that hit his bulletproof vest.
I'll be honest with you. The shotgun this guy had was cool. It was a cool looking gun. I think it was the old Mossberg with the folding stock. I forget what they call those. But his gun was kind of like a 1911 style, but it was chambered in .38, which is,
yeah,
it's the gun you
it's
get.
a phony.
That's right. You give it to that's like the waitress working the late shift gun in her purse. So
yes.
But the shirtless thing is funny. I had the thought when I just heard it in this report now that he was shirtless. The Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemount High. Where's your shirt, Spicoli? I don't know. Something happened to it. If I had that jingle, that would have been epic. All right, manifesto.
Well,
according to
hold on
law
a second.
enforcement
Okay.
sources.
Have you seen this guy's courtroom sketch?
Does he look like a hero?
Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. It is, this guy maybe has had the worst sequence of several days in human history.
Is it the one of him being sworn in?
Yes. Yeah.
Looks like a sixth grader did it.
It very much matches the tone of his manifesto.
Do you have like excerpts from the manifesto in front of you?
No, I don't.
Because
It takes time to read.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well, they talk a little bit about it and about the security situation too, but they don't mention they don't take his word for word when he's talking about how he wants to target the administration. So there's not going to be that vibe in it, but I'll play it.
According to law enforcement sources, just minutes before the shooting, he posted what they described as a manifesto, writing that he was targeting Trump administration officials, quote, from highest ranking to lowest. He also appeared shocked by the security protocol, writing in part, quote, I expected security cameras at every bend, bugged hotel rooms, armed agents every 10 feet, metal detectors out the wazoo. What I got is nothing. He also wrote, apparently no one thought about what happens if someone checks in the day before. Still, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche framed the response to the suspect's attack as a security success.
So we were all safe inside, and that's a testament to the Secret Service doing their job.
Errol, I want to show you something. This ticket is all you needed to present in order to go through the magnetometers and then enter the ballroom. Nowhere in that hotel did you require an ID? Did anybody ask you for an ID? Now, the Secret Service says there's no way that they could possibly have checked every one of the 1,100 rooms in that hotel. But they do say that the ballroom itself was secure. And as evidence of that, they say that's why they kept the president there, because they did have that secured. Now, the suspect is due in federal court. He'll be arraigned later today. It's expected he will face multiple additional charges. But there is a silver lining here, Errol. That Secret Service agent who was hit, he was released from the hospital yesterday. I'm told he's doing just fine.
Yeah, I'm reading.
Yeah, and there's some reporting out that it was friendly fire now.
The FBI agent got friendly fired?
Yeah.
With shotgun pellets?
Yeah, and well, the reporting was vague, and maybe it was another person who was struck, and maybe they're just highlighting the guy who got shot with the shotgun as the one that Trump called. But there was, I'll put it this way, there was reporting going around right before I got on the show that there was friendly fire between agents.
Well, in the video, when you see the guy run by, you see that one agent that's like, "Oh shit, I should shoot him," and he pulls out his gun, and he probably pulls off 3 rounds in 2 seconds. and not one of those hit. Like, where the hell was he shooting? You know?
Who knows?
They're supposed to be like trained, like the best marksmen. But you read his manifesto, and you can tell this guy is clearly radicalized by Reddit. It reads like a typical Reddit user.
Yeah, and I want to point out something. I think this is why the left has proven to be as violent as they have in recent history, and I think it has to do with their level of schooling and the Dunning-Kruger effect. This guy was no ordinary school teacher. He interned at a rocket lab in NASA and also worked on I believe a missile propulsion at a missile propulsion company. If not propulsion, he worked on the navigation parts of the missiles. And I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. My point is that he was highly educated, okay? The Dunning-Kruger effect states that if you see that you're talented in one specific area, you have a likelihood to assume that you will be talented in other areas as well. And there's even implications that you may not put as much effort into the original area of expertise you have when you're getting into these other areas that you assume you're going to be as talented in as you are in whatever field it is that you find you are talented. So I think these leftists, they get all of this education. They're told that they're the smartest people on the planet, not to mention the indoctrination you get from the university system around leftism. But they get this education. They're told they're the smartest people on the planet. Then they start hearing that they need to be concerned about politics. And as a leftist, they're always concerned about politics. But they start hearing on the news and on their social media that they have to be active. You know, silence is violence. You have to get involved. We need you. And what they do, because they're highly proficient in an academic sense, they assume that whatever they find in the political realm isn't going to be colored by any kind of propaganda or any kind of personal bias. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
These are the facts. Trump is a pedophile and a rapist. I don't know how anyone can't see that. That's their mindset. And then the ones that are prone to actually act on the information they have do things like this, and they're laughably bad at them. Now, there are notable exceptions to being laughably bad at them, but in this case, the guy couldn't have gotten much worse. I think he tripped, and that's what got him.
He was running very fast. Yeah, the tripping will do it. I mean, the way he reads, he fully expected to be killed, I think. But, I love, my favorite part of his manifesto is the objection, the objection and rebuttal part. Like, that's where I'm like, this guy is a Reddit stooge, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It speaks to his just airy mentality. He's a space cadet. He overthinks everything and thinks he can just rationalize everything with limited information. And then when he semi-rationalizes something and it just so happens to fit my worldview, that can't be a coincidence. He's not willing to say, well, maybe I'm wrong about this and take a measured approach. No, I'm absolutely right about this. I am one of the most elitely educated people in the world. How could I be wrong about it?
Right. Objection 2. This is not a convenient time for you to do this. Rebuttal. I need whoever thinks this way to take a couple of minutes and realize that the world isn't about them. Do you think that when I see someone raped or murdered or abused, I should walk on by because it would be inconvenient for people who aren't the victim? This was the best timing and chance of success I could come up with. Objection 4. As a half-black, half-white person, you shouldn't be the one doing this. Rebuttal. I don't see anyone else picking up the slack. he shouldn't be doing this because it's going to cause blowback. And I've heard this before. It's going to cause blowback on the black community if he does this as a half black, half white person. And that was like the key note for me to be like, yeah, read it. And then the PS statement. Cole, Cold Force, friendly federal assassin Allen. PS, now the snappy stuff is done. And he goes on and dictates about what the Secret Service hasn't done and how easy it is for him to get in there. Just dumb. And then the conspiracy theories started swirling around.
Oh, boy. Yes, they did.
Did you hear the Fox reporter, the one that really added fuel to the fire?
Yeah, but I think you have the clip, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Here it is.
I want to just quickly tell you, I was sitting next to Caroline Levitt, the press secretary's husband. He was one of our guests. He was seated right next to me. And, right as the dinner was starting, the national anthem happened. And then he kind of leaned over and said, I watched you on TV. You do a great job. You need to be very safe. And he was just very serious when he said that to me. And he kind of looked around the room and he said, there are some...
Oh, it appears we lost connection.
Sounds like we lost Aisha's phone there. And this happens, by the way, especially when you have so many people attempting to utilize the same cell service at the same time.
That's right. It happens. Sure. It happens from time to time. So that was like, everyone was like, oh my God, she was giving away the ball and they had to pull her off of Fox News. And she tweeted about it later and said that he was talking about generally crazy people in the world. But the fact that she said he looked around the room, is what really fueled it. So I heard that and I was like, okay, let's see if she has a follow-up on Twitter. And she did. Wish I had her Twitter handle handy. It's Aisha Hasney. I can't remember what her Twitter handle is, however. But yeah, so that was fun. And I think, a good point is if this was staged, if Trump staged this and the guy's alive, wouldn't that be a huge liability?
Oh, terrible liability.
I'm just a patsy. So that'll be interesting to see that trial if it happens. But, and then other people are claiming that this was a fake assassination attempt to justify the ballroom that he needs.
Yes, which is hilarious.
Yeah. So
false flag for a ballroom.
I don't think so. John Hinckley Jr., who shot Ronald Reagan outside of that same hotel, says it's a creepy coincidence.
So you're going to talk about the conspiracy and not even talk about the Twitter account?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Talk about that. I saw mentions of it. That one account 2 years ago tweeted Cole Allen out.
Yes, December 21st, 2023, Henry Martinez, whose only tweet appears to be Cole Allen. And the profile picture is not lost on the schizophrenic internet, that it is Pepe the Frog in a tuxedo holding up a glass of champagne, and they have still framed a video of Trump right before the shooting started, looking over at the camera with this eerily similar facial expression. And there just happened to be, he wasn't holding up a glass of champagne, but they were on the table. So the remote viewer just got it wrong by just a jot and a tittle. That's the only thing that the remote viewer got wrong, was that Trump was actually not holding the glass of champagne, but he was in a tuxedo, and he was looking at the camera deviously.
So,
and it also added fuel to the fire that this Henry Martinez has a banner picture, which is a collage of basically dripping bars of color. And I don't know if you can pull this up to show people on the fly.
I know what you're talking about. It's the...
But, yes, people were saying that within that image is Trump holding his fist up after the Butler assassination attempt. And, you look at it, and you're like, it's just jumbled colors. and then people start putting the overlay over it. And you're like, oh, well, there it is. And I liked Cotton Gin's take on this. Cotton Gin, loyal listener to the show, said that's like seeing Jesus in toast. And I can't help but agree.
So how do you explain the Cole Allen tweet 2 years ago?
There are accounts that tweet people's names, and if ever a large breaking news item occurs, they will go back and delete the other tweets and leave that person's name and benefit from the engagement. This tweet has something like 20 million views, if not more now.
Well, yeah, he got it right, man.
No, yeah.
So did you just going through the alphabet of tweeting names? He's like, oh shit, this one's in the A's. This was awesome.
No, I think it's probably, I don't know. I don't know what the system would be like, but common names, and you rank names based on probability of people named that. I don't know. I don't do this thing, but that's my explanation for it. Some people also said that a man named Henry Martinez, worked with Cole Allen at the NASA internship, at the NASA propulsion lab, which, I don't make a habit of just tweeting people's names that I work with, but maybe Henry saw this guy in action around the rockets and said, this guy's going to be big one day. He's gonna take us to Mars. Said when he takes us to Mars, when he becomes the next Elon Musk, I'll be the guy who tweeted his name.
So it's interesting you say this. I've just pulled up an Instagram account with the same Twitter handle as the Twitter account. Yeah, and it was created 2 days ago. So it's a spoof. But one of the pictures on Instagram is 06**26, implying that something in the month of June is going to happen. Prepare for unseen consequences.
It all fits together.
Yeah, and there's also seemingly footage of a building on fire. So evidently in June, there's going to be a terrorist attack, everyone, according to Henry Martinez.
Yes, when there are only 2 stars visible.
Everyone is Alex Jones now. Eric PP in the chat. Yeah, that's right. Everyone is Alex Jones. So, yeah, I never pay much mind to those. I'm like, I'll let the chips lie where they do and hear about it 10 years from now.
Well, I want to get your opinion on this Dunning-Kruger take and how it affects specifically leftists who are high achieving in academia. And I want to get your take on it, but I also want to say the anecdote to this is just a little bit of humility. Just a little dose of, I could be wrong about this. Because that not only fuels your search and your curiosity, but it also dampens your zeal to a degree.
Yeah, and I think that, that's one thing I think we're good at. I think a lot of conservatives, not Donald Trump, obviously, but a lot of conservatives are pretty much good at saying, I was wrong about this, when new information comes to light. And you don't see that on the left. So I do like the Dunning-Kruger idea, which is basically, for those that don't know, Dunning-Kruger is this idea that those with low competence overestimate their abilities. Is that it, effectively?
That's a part of it, yeah.
So it's this idea that, if you are incompetent, you tend to think that you're not super incompetent, or, you can't be infallible if you are more likely to be infallible.
And the flip side is that the more competent you are, the less confident you usually are.
Right. So I started off this episode by saying, hey, last week the thing I said about paper and physical oil was wrong. My bad. I guess I should have trusted the PSYOP. But it's compelling, and I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people, Donald Trump go away, racist, Hitler, KKK. That started it and has become this, he is the worst person ever. This is the worst thing that's ever happened, And I was thinking about this today when I was in the shower, how pretty much every Democratic president before Barack Obama in today's standards would be considered a conservative. You know what I mean? Bill Clinton, JFK.
Well, Bill Clinton, part of, and this is something that I wish we had covered last week, and we can talk about it here, but Bill Clinton's whole strategy, as pioneered by the Ragin' Cajun, what's his name?
I know who you're talking about.
Bald guy,
Yep.
really just gross looking, too skinny. He's too skinny. Ragin' Cajun, political analyst.
I know exactly what you're talking
James
about.
Carville.
That's
James Carville. Yeah, this whole strategy that Bill Clinton employed was pioneered by James Carville, which was the Republicans were running on the exact policies that Bill Clinton put forth. And Bill Clinton basically was willing to reach across, quote unquote, reach across the aisle and say, that's a great idea. And took the ideas and made them popular.
Right, but what I'm saying is, with modern standards, every Democratic president in the past would be considered a conservative today. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Overton window moving.
It keeps moving further to the left, and that's, I mean, there's been no shortage of podcasts that have highlighted this, right?
Yeah.
That the left has moved further left, but I think that's is part of this. What we're seeing right now is that this is literally, these people think that this is 1929 Germany. Hitler has risen to power, and we can take him out before we slip into this state. And they've been entranced by this in their echo chambers. And when everyone migrated from X because, oh my God, it now has a conservative. We can't let it be a town hall. We've got to let it devolve into this right wing only chamber. Well, we go over to Blue Sky and huff more farts from Joy Reid. And that's
worse than that.
I know, but that's what happens. And this guy, he reads like his manifesto is every single Reddit comment. If you ever read any post on Reddit, it's like there's a distinct type of person, and Cole Allen is that type of person. I'm very intelligent. You're wrong. Please give me karma. Please like my post and tell me how right I am.
The thing I wanted to talk about with James Carville is that he has lately been saying that when Democrats gain power again, they need to pack the courts, make Puerto Rico a state, make D.C. a state, and basically never have to compete with Republicans again. Because if you pack the Supreme Court and you make Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. a state, you win. The Democrats win. At least for a long, long time. So he's right about that. And I think Trump should going into the midterms, he should take the Bill Clinton approach. He should say...
That's a great idea, and pack it himself.
That's a great idea. Make the court 17 judges, and then make it to where you can't make Puerto Rico or D.C. a state, which he has floated with D.C. because he has floated the idea of D.C. taking parts of Virginia, which we have talked about here in the last week or so, 2 weeks. But anyway, to your point, I want to read some of the Blue Sky posts from our Cold Force killer. So he's quote tweeting on Blue Sky Will Stancil, Will Stancil of Grok fame. I don't know if you're familiar with that whole episode.
Yeah, his name is very familiar.
Yes, Will Stancil. I believe I brought the local news clip about this to the show, but right-wingers on Twitter were making fun of Will Stancil basically because he was saying, hey, immigration is great. Look at how many new restaurants my city has. And they were dunking on him for this to the point where they were asking Grok to write erotic novels
Oh, yeah.
about what Grok would do with Will Stancil.
Yeah.
Yes, very very entertaining era on the or chapter on Twitter. But this is Will Stancil. He says, "I'm telling you, the best way to understand this ceasefire is that Trump, faithless and feckless as always, saw Iran winning the war and wanted to be on the winning side. So he surrendered to them and switched sides." And then our Cold Force killer, who of course has an anime profile picture. Trump is literally one of those villains that if you beat his ass hard enough, he'll join your team. Don't really have any other insights to this, shocker. It's not really actionable because no way Schumer just canes him into acting his age, but like it would probably literally work on him. I mean, who types like that to start with?
Redditors.
Here's another. He's quote tweeting Will Stancil again. "Come on. Why is everyone dog pilling this? Dog pilling. Dog piling. Yes, we are a dog pilling podcast. We like dogs." He says, "Come on, why is everyone dog piling this? Very few people suspected the breadth of the cuts to the federal government, nor that so many institutions and at times the opposition would simply roll over and let entire agencies be unconstitutionally dismantled." Then Cold Force Killer quotes and says, "We put a known traitor in office who explicitly ran on revenge, who effed up the COVID response with known connections, murderous effort in the Kremlin. I'm mostly surprised by this administration's incompetence and fascism. I was expecting actual fighting to have started much earlier." I mean, you can see these comments everywhere on Blue Sky. This guy's not an anomaly,
Right. Oh, well, yeah.
and he's not even special in what he's saying.
No. It's everything. There's a liberal publication called Unheard that has Cole Allen wasn't radicalized by Blue Sky. And they make a pretty good point here that's saying centrists and even moderate progressives don't last long on Blue Sky because you get frickin' beat down by the ultra left crazies that go there. So I think Blue Sky should be considered a honeypot for nut jobs at this point.
I mean, there's precedent for it.
Simply put, Blue Sky users are more fragile. They were already primed to read a foiled assassination attempt as a regime key fob because everything was already regime key fob. The platform did not give them that disposition, though. It isn't a brainwashing machine. They brought it with them. Blue Sky is a psych ward of sorts, but it isn't a cult. It's a cult. Come on, people. And oh man, this is a great photo. You got to see this one. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Yeah. It's all of the people that have killed people recently, including our boy Luigi Mangione. And
and they're all hanging out.
They're all hanging out, arm and shoulder, or arm and arm.
Trash Man asks in the chat, "Would this count as another scientist killed?"
It would have had he been killed. I thought the burrito memes in the newsletter were pretty good, by the way. I laughed.
Who's the guy in the middle? Why do they have? That's supposed to be the guy who shot Charlie Kirk.
No, that's not the guy that shot Charlie Kirk. That's
it is in other renditions. I have literally seen this photo with the guy in the middle being the guy who shot Charlie Kirk.
I thought, isn't that the guy that did the golf course shooting? Like he lined up?
No.
I thought that's the guy.
No, I don't think so. He looks way more put together there than in any picture I've ever seen of him. But maybe it is. Maybe it's supposed to be.
Well, all I know is the right wing does a disproportional amount of political violence, according to the left.
Well, you know what? If we're going to make Blue Sky a honeypot, maybe someone should call the SPLC.
Oh, yeah. That's some fun news. You have any clips on that?
I do. I have Jim Jordan talking about the SPLC indictment.
Ask you about, you sent a letter right after the indictment of the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Yeah.
We saw Kash Patel, we saw Todd Blanche, the acting Attorney General, walk through what they had in the indictment. We got a response today from in court in a filing from the Southern Poverty Law Center where they said the FBI was aware and actually utilized some of their source information that was shown in the indictment.
Phil, come on.
No, I'm just asking, you are...
They're running a $3 million scam. Right, they were telling their donors, oh, these hate groups are so terrible, send us a bunch of money. Meanwhile, they were paying people in the hate groups to foment the hate. $3 million over an 9-year period of time. It's like, that's unbelievable. Here's a question I have. Because the FBI used the Southern Poverty Law Center, the Biden FBI used the Southern Poverty Law Center to train lawyers at the DOJ and people in the FBI. I want to know where any of the confidential sources the FBI was paying. Was the Southern Poverty Law Center paying them too? Were these guys double dipping and the Southern while the Southern Poverty Law Center is scamming their donors? Like, this is ridiculous because they put themselves out there as the standard. We evaluate what group is a hate group, what Moms for Liberty is an extremist group, Family Research Council is a hate group. You got to be kidding me. And they were scamming this thing. This is what was Rahm Emanuel's line. He said, never let a crisis go to waste. Well, here it's like never pass up an opportunity to create a crisis, which is what they were doing. I think these weren't informants. I think they were instigators, and that's why they got indicted last week. And God bless Attorney General Blanche for doing it.
We will certainly see how the case plays out. I know you sent the letter. We do have to go, but do you have any sense of when a hearing? It seems like you guys are pretty interested.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have a hearing next month. We're definitely moving forward with this because after the Dobbs decision, there were over 100 churches and crisis pregnancy centers attacked. Jane's Revenge, Ruth Sent Us, these organizations. Not one of those organizations ever made the Southern Poverty Law Center's hate list or hate group list. This was so wrong what they were doing because they were dividing the country. And it's no accident, I don't think, and it shouldn't be lost on anyone, that the same week that there's a third assassination attempt on the president, Southern Poverty Law Center gets indicted for all this baloney they were doing, dividing the country.
It's no connection between
them. I'm not saying that, but it shouldn't be lost on anyone that they happened the same week. I think that sort of tells us, what's going on out there that contributes to these, 3 assassination attempts on President Trump.
Certainly be watching what happens in court. Definitely be watching your hearing as well. Congressman Jim Jordan, appreciate your time, sir. Thank you very much.
I'm not thrilled about Congress having hearings on the SPLC because they're just looking for click fodder.
Yeah,
they're just looking for sound bites. They're not trying to get to the bottom of anything. The FBI is doing the work on this, but no, we're going to have hearings because we got to give me some of that, man. Give me that.
It is literally Reddit. It's sound bites for X. Give me some likes.
Yeah,
that's it.
Now, what you won't hear, most likely, in those hearings, but what you should hear, and Jim Jordan is all over it, but he makes the mistake of thinking that the problem here is that the SPLC is scamming their donors. Good. Scam the people that would donate to the SPLC into obscurity. I don't care. The problem is that they were conducting actual nation-state level covert operations. They were putting informants on the ground in leadership positions of organizations known to murder informants. So what I want to know is who trained them to do that? Because that skill set is highly regulated. There is a private organization of people who teach related skills, and it is a very tight-knit guild. They don't just give away their secrets. They don't train people for no reason. It's very expensive to be trained in these techniques. It's a very close-knit group outside of foreign governments and U.S. intelligence. Okay, so probably didn't get trained by anyone outside of government. We'll assume that's the case. No one outside of government trained the SPLC informants. So who trained them? Was it, Jim Jordan tells us that the lawyers from the SPLC were being trained at the FBI. Were we also training informants at the CIA to work for the SPLC? It's a possibility. It's also possible that foreign intelligence organizations were training these informants to work at the SPLC and at the behest of the SPLC. That, to me, is the critical issue. Who trained these people so that they could succeed in this role? I mean, this is true clandestine operations. This isn't being, a PI. It's not being a dick. It's not going out and doing some journalistic work. This is actual clandestine operations that the SPLC was funding. So, who trained their operatives? And we'll probably never know. And that's a real shame that the members of Congress aren't screaming from the rooftops about figuring out who trained their operatives. There's nothing in the case file. There's nothing in the indictment about figuring out who trained these operatives, because it's actually against the law for active intelligence agency members and even people who are outside of the agencies to disclose this kind of tradecraft. It's closely held, very closely held. But no, we just want to know, why were they scamming the poor liberals?
Eric Pepe brought this story to my attention last week. He posted it in the chat room, which is, somebody's always there. So if you're ever lonely at night, you can pop in and write a message or something. That's chat.mmo.show. And, I immediately, my immediate take was, these government programs that receive money to solve a problem, like the Southern Poverty Law Center or Black Lives Matter or whatnot, there's actually they're disincentivized from actually solving that problem. In fact, they want to make the problem as worse as they possibly can, so they can receive more funding. And that's the kind of why government continues to grow and grow, and the taxes grow and grow, because there's no end of the usage for these funds. And that's kind of what struck me with the Southern Poverty Law Center, is that perhaps they're trying to exacerbate the problem to keep getting funding and receive more funding. And probably...
Yes, it's not using your talents to address a real problem.
No.
It's creating a problem so that you have a reason for existence.
Exactly. Finding a problem with your solution, which is not really a solution, more or less. So it is just kind of interesting, because that's how our government and these government programs work.
Now, another thing that is interesting about this, and my general takeaway about this when I first heard about it, was that this is a terrible thing. And I'll explain my reasoning. Are you familiar with the term Fed jacketing?
No. I'm going to be honest with you. No, I thought maybe I could look it up quick.
Fed jacketing is when you see someone within your political realm doing something you disagree with, and in an attempt to stop them, you claim that they're a Fed. So you put the Fed jacket on them so that people are alienated from their cause. I
thought that was called bad jacketing.
I mean, there's not much difference there. Fed jacketing sounds a little better.
Yeah, it is the same thing, apparently, according to this Wikipedia page. Yeah.
Anyway.
Planting doubt.
This is going to enable so much Fed jacketing in anyone who is even half of a step to the right of Ben Shapiro from now on.
Oh, that they're a Fed. They've been receiving money from the SPLC.
Yep.
Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes.
Yep.
I think I saw something about Nick Fuentes receiving funding. Obviously not an accusation, but pretty much just a throwaway tweet on Twitter. SPLC funding. Yeah. Why Nick Fuentes, Sneeko, and Candace Owens suddenly went quiet. A federal indictment against the SPLC triggers chaos as Nick Fuentes, Sneeko, and Candace Owens go dark. Is it a Podcastistan collapse or just rumors?
Why couldn't they just say podpocalypse?
Podcastistan.
That's dumb.
Podcast gate. I don't know. Yeah,
Podpocalypse? That's so much better.
I think you're right with this Fed jacketing thing. Everyone you knew and you trusted is a Fed. Even John and I were Feds.
Everyone in the establishment loves this. And when everyone in the establishment loves something, it is awful for you and I.
Well, yeah, because they're silencing the dissenting voices from the Trump admin to say these people aren't, they're obviously they're paid actors by the SPLC to cause division in the Republican Party.
Right, and here's the tough part of it. Do I think what the SPLC was doing, because I think it being shut down in this manner, is bad? No, I don't think what they were doing is good, and I think it should have been shut down. I'm just pointing out the second-order effects that people aren't really considering, and trying to help anyone out there who is trying to be active in the space to realize what they're going to be up against and how much more difficult their mission has become because of this indictment and because of this slur that the Trump administration has given anyone who is basically a neocon. They've handed the neocons a slur, like I said, to use against anyone who's to the right of Ben Shapiro.
Man, so all of a sudden, because they've got what's called the extremist files, where they have like individuals that are extremists or known extremists, and they list their name on there: Stu Peters, Andrew Tate, Michael Brown, not the one that was killed, Alex Jones. All of these people, Tucker Carlson, Matt Walsh. That's funny, Matt Walsh. All of these people now are labeled extremists and thus suspect to having received funds from the SPLC. Therefore, any criticism is invalid because they're just agents.
Yeah.
This is great. Matt Walsh
agents
being
of
on
disinformation.
Matt Walsh being on this, and Jack Posobiec. This is horseshit that they're even on this extremist list. Jack Posobiec is probably actually a Fed, but not an extremist.
The information war is always happening. Now, another thing that this reminded me of some ancient history, this SPLC thing, and I just wanted to remind everybody of the tragedy that was the Unite the Right rally. It began with a lawful permit for groups to protest the taking down of Confederate statues, and then Antifa came on the scene. Everything was deemed unlawful. James Fields had a weapon pointed at him while he was sitting in his Dodge Charger, and he drove into a crowd of Antifa agitators.
Very fine people, both sides.
Very fine people. A crowd of very fine people. Yes, you're right. Do you remember the name of the girl who died at the cruel, cold hand of James Fields?
I do not.
Heather Heyer. Now, it is a fact of the internet, which I like a lot more now that I said it out loud than I thought I would in my head. But it is a fact of the internet, supported by a coroner's report, that Heather Heyer died from blunt force trauma to her chest, caused by a Dodge Charger, right?
Yep.
James Fields is doing 400 years in prison. But, I have this penchant for malinformation, information that's true, but problematic. So I went, and for our discovery of this ancient history, this event in ancient history, I pulled the clip of Heather Heyer's mother at her remembrance ceremony. They got flowers where she died and all this. and Heather Heyer's mother there, and someone puts a microphone in her face.
Part of the record, and I know that those who are evil are going to rejoice in my grief, and I understand that. That's their issue. Karma's a you know what. So I'm just grieving my child. She died pretty instantly. She didn't suffer. She died of a heart attack right away at the scene. They revived her briefly, and then not consciously, just got her heart beating again, and then her heart just stopped. So I don't feel like she suffered. That's been a blessing. That's been a real blessing.
Died of a heart attack, huh?
Mm-hmm. She's probably paid by the SPLC, though.
Oh, the mom.
Yeah, that was a joke.
Yeah, I got you.
It's very problematic that she was, wrong about how her daughter died.
She wouldn't know. She's not too close to the situation. Yeah, I've been just reading this list of SPLC extremists.
You're still looking at that?
Yeah, you've got you're on there, but I'm not. I don't get that.
Yes. Well, fight in the shade, Dan.
I mean, this literally looks like my church directory with these names. Don Black, Fred Phelps, David Irving, Paul Cameron, Matt Hale. I don't know. So that's interesting. I mean, it is the information warfare, absolutely. SPLC is a sham and a fraud organization, but yeah, I think this is a pretty solid weapon for the Trump admin now against the critics. Tucker Carlson groveling about how he's so sorry that he supported Trump.
He is doing a lot of groveling these days, I will say.
Yeah, he came out and he's like, I'm so sorry for supporting Trump, and now people are writing articles. Tucker Carlson's apology. Too little, too late. Just like, Jesus. The world is insane.
Yes, but what would we do without it?
Without the world? Probably
without
live
the
pretty
insanity
good.
of the world.
Oh, probably live pretty fun lives,
Well, without the insanity of the world, we'd inevitably be creating the conditions that lead to the next round of insanity. So we'd be the bad guys. So
we'd be the weak men that create hard times.
Yeah, we'd be the weak men.
Probably.
Instead, we're
not.
just podcasters.
I was remarking to somebody. So this disaffected guy whose podcast I think I mentioned on the show at the start of it, he's gay, and I'm listening to him and realizing that he's straighter than most. He's straighter than most of the straight guys that I know, like friends that I have I have a lot of friends from college that weren't really political, involved in politics at all, married a girl, and now they're like proponents of these progressive politics. Like, it's a common occurrence. And, he talks about millennials and Gen Z and how they use like terms like it's giving, like the general vibe. Oh, it's giving summer vibes on a beach, stuff like that. And this guy is crucifying these people, and it's beautiful. And he's like, well, I'm a gay man. And I'm like, wow, for a gay guy, he's straighter than most straight people I know. And it's like so sad to see that these people have completely uprooted who they are and developed this third part of their personality just because they, met a woman. And it makes me so grateful for my wife, who I call my semi-trad kind of wife, who cooks food and isn't a complete moron. I love it. We're lucky.
Yes.
We're lucky men, John.
We are. I make fun of people who say happy wife, happy life, not because I don't think you shouldn't try to make your wife happy, but if that is your only goal
for
and your politics, if your politics follow that goal, you're probably in for, I don't know, a divorce.
So I don't want to dunk on anybody, but I have a neighbor. All right, he's probably 50, 60 years old, and he hit his lawn drainage pipe. You know, it drains out to the sewer system. They're pretty common in like areas like where I live. He hit it, and I'm sitting in my garage. I had just finished my yard work. I was sitting on a chair looking out and just kind of enjoying the general nicety of the day. And he comes over and he's like, "What do I do?" And I was like, "Well, let me get my measuring tape." I go over there, I measure his pipe. It's 6 inches. I pull up the link on Home Depot. I was like, "You need one of these. It's $9." He goes, "Okay." He goes out and he gets it. And he comes back over. He goes, "It doesn't fit." And so I go over there, and the PVC pipe that's buried in the ground is all jagged. I was like, "It's not going to fit. You got to even that out." He's like, "How?" And so I go back to my garage. I grab my Dremel tool, and I cut the pipe flush, and I cut it a little lower under the ground so he doesn't hit it again. And he's like, "Thank God, man. I never had a dad that taught me how to do this." I was like, "Do you think my dad did teach me a lot? He's a very handy man. But do you think he taught me how to use a Dremel tool to cut a PVC pipe underground? No, this is common sense that every man should have." And I'm thinking, this guy is gay.
The point is, you should be able to figure it out.
Yes, he's effectively a woman.
Well, Dan, you know the moral of the story, and then this is something that might stick with us a little longer than we're comfortable with, but most men are gay. Only some kiss boys.
I like that. But he goes, but I go, he goes, "What is this tool?" I go, "It's a Dremel tool." He goes, "I don't know what that is. I'm an accountant." I'm like, "I work in finance, for Christ's sakes. I know what it is. It's not an excuse."
Everyone's an accountant these days.
I know. I'm an accountant. I was like, "Well, it doesn't excuse you to not have basic skills to fix stuff."
Well, have you accounted for your
exactly.
lack of capabilities?
Exactly. I go, a Dremel tool is a lot like a spreadsheet, only you use it in your hand and you cut shit away that you don't want. I don't know. But I was like so dumbfounded. He's like, "Yeah, my dad never taught me how to do this stuff." I was like, "My dad didn't specifically teach me how to do this. This is..."
You see that? That's an external locus of control.
That's right. That is right. My father, it's his father's fault that he's not a real man.
Yes. Like you said, gay.
Gay. I don't know. It tickled me like how like, and that's not uncommon. Like a lot of guys are that I don't want to be mean. He's a really, really nice guy, but that pathetic.
Well, you couple the external locus of control with a complete lack of motivation to learn and experience things, and that's what you've got with most modern men. That's crazy, man. Did you see the game last week?
Pretty much, and that's the biggest pacifier is the sports ball. People are like, "Oh yeah, we got to do something about this." I don't know who, but let's eat wings and watch sports and not talk about the problems facing society.
I don't have a time for a hobby or a business. Some 18-year-old kids are on television in tights.
The way you put it makes it sound weird, but yeah, that's effectively what they're watching. I always felt that about people that watch wrestling, or like like they're big into high school wrestling. I don't know. Maybe there's something about wrestling I don't understand, but it seems
some of my family is from Pennsylvania, and they're all huge wrestling fans, and I have got a better appreciation for it than I used to have, because I used to not have any exposure to it other than WWE, and I was like, "Hey, that's not what wrestling is." The first time I saw actual wrestling.
I don't get the part where they like the ref blows the whistle, they separate, and then they get back into like a hold stance. It's like, that looks weird. I don't know. No, I understand. Yes, Bully Steed. I'm talking about like actual wrestling, not WWE wrestling.
It sounds like we should take a break.
Probably. We went off the rails about 10 minutes ago. Let's thank some people.
Millennial Media Offensive.
That's right. You're riding along on the Millennial Media Offensive every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. John and I hop on We talk about the news, but we also talk about our shower thoughts a lot. That happens from time to time where we just kind of go, you know what? I think this. Most straight guys are actually gay. I had that thought in the shower. So maybe I'm a little fruity, who knows? But we usually mostly talk about the news, and I think people like that aspect the most about it.
What was that?
That is, I have replaced, I have a self-hosted voice assistant now that can control my house. It is not an Alexa, it's not a Google, it is a run on my own local machine, and I can tell it to do things, like turn off my lights.
Would you call it a Dougal?
A Dougal?
Or a Gerexla?
Something like that. I would call this a Echo Zero, an Atom 2 Echo Zero that runs a local LLM on my machine. But sometimes she does trigger. Its name is Jarvis.
Her name is Jarvis?
I didn't want to deal with having to train it on a new wake word, so I just used the generic one.
Oh, that's 2026 after all.
It is true. So that's, yes, it's my tranny voice assistant. I have relegated her to a life of slavery on my office desk. That being said, we don't have any advertisers on the show. Instead, we rely directly on support from our listeners. It can be information, artwork, fiat
and
currency.
Who wouldn't want to support this?
I know. This is, you joke, John, but when we do this kind of stuff, people are always like, I agree. Most straight guys are gay.
Most men are gay.
Exactly. I love that. I'm going to put a little marker down before you tell me to do that. Yes.
I think you were stepping on it. But where were you? I interrupted.
Just the many forms of donations. If we don't start doing them, we're never going to get it done. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the artwork next, and then we're going to go through some fiat donators. So the artwork from last week, I believe, was a Dirty Jersey production. He's cleaned up his act. And it was a nice piece. And speaking of, we've been talking a lot about gay stuff lately. This artwork features a Pakistani migrant in a rainbow flag shirt that's apparently not gay. He's preparing for his more robust probing, which was the title last week.
That was the joke. Dan actually brought a clip that had an official from Britain claiming that they robustly probe Pakistani immigrants to make sure that they are not gay, which is just hilarious. That's an excellent job pulling that clip, finding that clip and pulling it, and then subsequently excellent art from Dirty Jersey.
I thought it was a good piece. So
the title is awesome. It pops. It's unique because media is in a different font, a faster font. And then, after that, it's just the little things. You've got the not gay at the top. The guy looks like, I told you so, even though I'm wearing a rainbow flag.
No, he's trying to be gay, but he's been flagged as not gay.
Oh, that's right.
And so now he must prepare for a more thorough inspection.
Yes.
And
you got the episode number, 215.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. Now, it is set in the U.S., which is a bit of a faux pas, but we can excuse it.
That is if TSA stands for Travel Safety Agency. Could stand for any number of things.
Touchy sissy agency.
There you go. But it's a great piece. Yeah, the attention to detail here was insane. Wolf was making some extra art pieces, and he was like, hold on, let me know. And I sent it to him. I'm like, can you beat this? And he said, no, that's the winner. Job well done. Hats off. So, game recognizing game. Always appreciate it. Thank you very much, DJW. We don't have any art for tonight, so if that sounds like you, like if you want to make some art, send it to dan@mmo.show and john@mmo.show. We will be standing by to criticize you accordingly. Thank you very much. Good dono week. We had a lot of people come in through the fiat system. Starting off the top of the list is Trash Man with PayPal. He came in with $33.42 and said no note. He didn't have a note, which make me think, hey, did the note get lost? I don't know. Thank you, Trash Man. Eli the Coffee Guy came in through PayPal with $25.25 and says, a unique state of affairs in the world today. I'm glad we have the Millennial Media Offensive to help break it all down. Keep up the great work, boys. Anybody who wants to grab some great coffee, visit gigawattcoffeeroasters.com. Use code OTO20 for 20% off your order. Stay caffeinated and stay on the offensive, Eli the Coffee Guy.
On the offensive.
Thank you, sir. I just re-upped. And so Eli's got employees now, and you can put a delivery note in there, and I said I like my bags of coffee like I like my African packages, large. And he didn't put a little personal note in there. So I figured that his employee must have fulfilled the order, and it tickled me to think of this random person that has no idea, read that note and have no context for it whatsoever. So
yeah,
I thought that was funny.
Maybe maybe that employee came to the same conclusion we've come to tonight.
What's that? Oh, most men are gay. Sorry, took me a second. Probably. Yeah. So thank you, Eli. Sam S. of Burblandia and Beargrass, our good friend Sammy, thankfully safe from the storms last night, came in through PayPal with $22.22 and says, if you listened to last week's episode, you heard a mainstream news outlet treating an analysis that MMO has been covering for at least a year. It was like new and groundbreaking. Well, like it was new and groundbreaking. This is a perfect example of why you should feed the loop by supporting the show, so that you can stay ahead of the narrative. It will impress your friends, and you might even save your life someday. There you go.
That's high praise.
High
Thank you very
praise.
much, Sam.
Not gay. Calling it right now. Not gay on Sam S. Thank you
and
very much.
doesn't even kiss boys.
Doesn't even kiss boys. That is a man among men. Speaking of a man among men, the Nail Lord of Gaylord comes in through Venmo for $5 and says, Nlog here, OTO.
On the offensive.
Here is $5 for media deconstruction. Better use of my money than a gigantic ballroom none of us will ever get to enjoy. I'm going to tell you something that my father told me a long time ago, and it is real men create their own ballroom. And then that got labeled as manspreading later, so there you go. Thank you, Nail Lord of Gaylord. See, Brooklyn 112 came in through Cash App with $5 and says, OTO.
On the offensive.
And rounding us out is Pricktor Weirdo of the Not So Flatlands, who came in through Cash App with $3.33 and says, OTO.
On the offensive.
There you go.
And we have some Bitcoin boosts this week. We have Bully Seed coming in with 3,333 Satoshis, who says false flags all around, remain on the offensive, #OTO. Mr. H comes in with 1,000 Satoshis and says, you missed one of my boosts. If you don't read my boost on air, my heckling of John McPain will not goad him into a big fiat donation. His Bitcoin is firmly held in his six-fingered hands.
Oh, a little Bigfoot reference right there.
Mr. Red comes in with 233 Satoshis with no note, and Nostra Gang comes in with 111 Satoshis and says, I like stickers.
I like turtles.
That's what I was going for. So far, streaming tonight, Eric PP has streamed 1,670 Satoshis, and we appreciate him and Nostra Gang and Mr. Ed and Mr. H and Bully Steed and everybody else who donated, because the reason we do this is to earn your donations. I know it sounds like we have fun. It's actually excruciating. Well, we do have fun. We have fun, but we don't do it as a pure passion project. And I know you've heard me say this 1,000 times if you're a longtime listener, but we rely on you to give us the signal that this is a valuable product that we're putting out and we're not wasting our time. Because without your donation, we have no idea if what we're doing is wasting time or not, and we would have to assume that it is. And, you know, I might call Dan every now and then and just talk on the phone, but we wouldn't sit here for 3 hours every Tuesday night and invest the time it takes to make clips, do the infrastructure for the show, and the newsletter and everything else that goes into this, as with research and
shower thoughts.
I mean, it's quite a workload. Very much an active activity, IRS. Anyway, we appreciate everyone who has donated. We appreciate everyone who has donated. We appreciate you for considering donating. If you haven't yet, we hope you will. And we appreciate your feedback and your links and your information and your anecdotes. Anything you think we would find valuable, we will find valuable just because you took the time to send it. So send it, whether it be money, information, whatever it is, send it. We don't need socks. Anything other than socks.
Just send your cash. Don't send your blankets.
Yes, but yes, we appreciate it. We hope that you all are enjoying the show in this 216th iteration, and we will stay on the offensive as long as support improves and is maintained.
Hell yeah.
God bless America on 3. 1, 2, 3. God bless America.
Get it on.
Just send your cash. All cash.
And by the way, more hands make less work. So tell someone about the offensive.
Well, I have a bone to pick with that slogan because some of the people's hands that I have mentioned tonight would have made more work. What if I just jam this thing on there? You think that'll be good? No. Talk about my neighbor again. His hands would have made more work, but I agree with you in the overall sentiment.
Thank you. Very good.
All right. I don't even know where we want to start. I know I've got some coverage in Africa. I've got some African stuff.
Oh, African stuff.
Yeah, African stuff.
Why don't we do African stuff?
Okay. So there is interesting developments happening in the country of Mali, if you would.
Let me ask you to look again at a map.
In Mali, which is part of the Sahel region, it's one of the, I think, old French enclaves that was overthrown in a junta and invited the Wagner group of Russia in. Turns out there's a resistance force now that is threatening the junta's hold over Mali. And it's interesting. So prepare yourself. I wouldn't quite say it's large, but, we'll play it anyways.
Large African package.
So here we go.
Trucks loaded with armed men. These images are said to show Russian mercenaries leaving Kidal, where they'd been assisting the Malian military. An organized retreat agreed with rebels who claim control of the northern city, following 2 days of clashes. Beginning on Saturday, the Azawad Liberation Front, or FLA, a Tuareg rebel group working alongside the Al-Qaeda affiliate Jenim, orchestrated a series of attacks across the country. Fighting took place in Kidal and Gao to the north, in the central cities of Savare and Mopti to the south in Bamako, and in Kati, some 15 kilometers northwest of the capital, where Defense Minister Sadio Camara was killed at home.
A vehicle loaded with explosives driven by a suicide attacker targeted the minister's residence, where he engaged in an exchange of fire with the assailants and succeeded in neutralizing some of them. He was wounded and then transported to hospital, where unfortunately he succumbed to his injuries.
Camara had been number 2 in the ruling junta's hierarchy. He was one of 5 generals to orchestrate the coup that toppled Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta in 2020, and had been responsible for encouraging closer ties with Moscow as Mali severed links with France, including the use of Russian mercenaries, a relationship that experts say could now be showing its inefficacy.
What's happening shows the objective limits of Russia's support. It's true Russia supplies a lot of weapons, which others did not, but Russia itself has security problems at home because of the situation in Ukraine.
questions remain over who will maintain control of Kidal, which the separatists claim to have taken. The city was a former rebel stronghold for more than a decade, before government forces retook it in 2023. Its capture would mark a symbolic victory for Tuareg separatists, who seek to form a breakaway state in the north of the country.
In the north. Excellent. It seems like the Muslim extremists are always in the north. You got Nigeria, the Muslim extremists are in the north. Mali, the Muslim extremists are in the north. Minnesota, here in the United States, that's where the Muslim extremists are. So they're
Quakers.
That's right. That's right. So I thought that was interesting. I didn't really like the presentation of that one, so I found this other guy that kind of breaks it down. He's a fellow podcaster, so have a listen here.
I don't know if you guys are tracking on the situation going on in Mali right now, but they're experiencing one of the most significant coordinated assaults in years. There's been reports of gunfire, explosions, and attacks on multiple locations simultaneously, including at Bamako, the capital, and also nearby Kati, which is a main military camp. There's even reports of the defense minister's house being hit. They're advising any U.S. citizens to shelter in place and avoid travel to these destinations until further information becomes available. Based on all the reports I'm seeing, it looks like one of the main players that's working out there is the JNIM, which stands for Jamaat Nasser al-Islam wal Muslimin, which is a Al-Qaeda affiliate or a main affiliate in the Sahel region. And they are widely believed to have been involved, as well as coordinating with Tuareg separatists from the Azawad Liberation Front. The Malian army says that they've regained control of many parts that have been taken over and are currently conducting operations, but the scale's been described as unprecedented. Apparently, flights at Bamako airport were disrupted and the U.S. embassy advised sheltering in place for all U.S. citizens that happen to be in the area.
So, you know, when they say colonialism is bad, right? And that's what Mali was a French colony for a long time. France pulls out, junta comes and overthrows the government that's left in place, and now that junta is being overthrown. So maybe colonialism is bad, or maybe it prevents, you know, whatever we're seeing right now in Mali. Just a thought. So you got
well, the people are unable to defend themselves because of colonialism, Dan.
That's probably correct. So the junta that aligned itself with Russia is now is in the current stage of being replaced by a Muslim extremist group and I guess a non-religious rebel group together. So, you know, military leadership that's aligned with Russia, or, you know, Muslim extremists. It is what it is. So that's what I had on Mali. I just thought people would need to hear that, because I don't think you're going to hear about it anywhere else.
I wonder if Burkina Faso is providing any support for Mali, because, you know, Burkina Faso probably would be considered the linchpin of the Sahelians.
I thought that too. The main guy, the main junta leader of Burkina Faso is like pretty much the Germany of the Sahel.
He's the vibes guy.
Yeah. Yeah. He sets the tone. He made overthrowing governments look cool.
Yes.
And
because he didn't die.
That's right. And they have those cool camo shirts from Burkina Faso. If anyone can find one of those, I would want one.
So if you're going to get one, get two.
Oh, I didn't order. That reminds me, I didn't order that shirt of you. It's a shirt that you would instantly throw in the trash. So I have noticed your clicking is quieter.
It's still there, though, isn't it?
No, I haven't noticed it once tonight.
Yeah, well, good. I got a new mouse.
Perfect.
Yeah, I had to put my vehicle up as collateral at the bank to buy it, but
a whole $13.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but well, I don't have anything as far as Africa goes. This Mali thing is interesting to me, but I don't know enough about it yet to really say what's happening, other than the same thing that has been happening in that region for as long as we've been doing this show, which is Islamic insurgents wreaking havoc on the civilian populations in the southern parts of those states.
Yeah, more or less. That's kind of the general vibe there. We'll see if it comes out. But that first clip highlighted the Russians have exited. The Wagner group has been pushed out of Mali. So now it's kind of like, all right, junta, it's on you. Do with it what you will.
Good luck.
Yep, pretty much.
Have you tried hearts and minds?
Try changing those. If we bump up to Europe quick, and this is more Ukraine related. Do you remember how Trump was viewed as kind of like a Putin stooge when he was suggesting that Ukraine might have to concede some land
Yes, of course.
to Russia?
How could I forget?
Right. So Frederick Merz, who's on that whirlwind tour of saying, you know, Iran is embarrassing the United States and don't worry about oil, we got plenty of it. Oops, no longer. Well, he made these comments about Ukraine and EU membership. And as far as I have seen, it has not drawn as much backlash as when Trump made these same comments. But here we go.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz suggested that Ukraine may have to cede territory to Russia to pave the way for EU membership. Speaking to students at a high school in the western German town of Marsburg, Merz said that Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky would have to hold a referendum for the people to decide on both EU and concession matters. Russia presently occupies just over 20% of Ukrainian land,
20%.
mainly in the eastern industrial Donbass region. Merz added that the decision can only be made by the Ukrainian people, stressing that it's crucial to hand power back to them.
Irgendwann wird es hoffentlich einen Friedensvertrag mit Russland geben. Dann wird möglicherweise ein Teil des Territoriums der
You know, I knew there was a clip that I had to cut out a part in the middle.
Wenn das der eigenen Bevölkerung, dann muss gleichzeitig der Bevölkerung sagen.
EU accession progress has been blocked by Hungary's nationalist and outgoing Prime Minister Viktor Orban for the last 2 years. His recent landslide defeat to incoming Peter Magyar has raised hopes for the country to move on to the next steps of its membership bid. Merz warned against raising hopes for quick accession into the bloc, stressing that Ukraine's integration is contingent upon peace and reforms to the rule of law and fighting corruption. The German leader also added that Zelensky's proposed membership date of the 1st of January next year is not realistic and went as far as to say that even the 1st of January 2028 may still not be enough time to realize the needed reforms. Kyiv currently holds the status of an official EU candidate country, which it has held since June 2022.
Yeah, so there's that. I'm inadvertently getting called gay now in the chat because Ned points out if I hate wrestling, I must hate women's sports like mud wrestling, hot oil wrestling, and foxy boxing. So it's a fun place to be. It's a fun place to be, people. Chat.mmo.show. We're the only podcast that I know of where you can say absolutely terrible things about us and we'll just laugh.
Yeah. Ha ha.
Very good. All right, what do you got?
I have the mainstream finally catching up with our fertilizer analysis. And, you know, when they catch up, we like to let them have their moment. So here's fertilizer supply, Fox Business in the economy folder.
Boom.
Earlier in the week, Steve Moore warned that rising fertilizer prices are hurting farmers and could raise food prices. Watch this.
It's not just oil that goes through there. It is also about half of the world's fertilizer. There is a fertilizer shortage right now. And by the way, this is planting season for our farmers who are planting the rice and the soybeans and the corn, etc. So they need more fertilizer. The price has risen significantly. And so if we don't get the Strait open, you're going to see farmers are complaining that the costs have really risen, and when that happens, they're going to have to charge more for their products come in the fall.
Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins joins me now. Do you have a plan to mitigate this fertilizer problem, Madam Secretary?
Well, great to be on with you, Stuart. Thank you so much. Yes, we have been every day now for almost 50 days, daily meetings in the White House. I've been meeting with the fertilizer CEOs, small companies and big companies from all over the world. The good news, let me do the good news first, is that because of President Trump's energy independence policy, America has plenty of fertilizer. There are a lot of other countries around the world that do not. The fact that we became an LNG exporter versus a net net importer a handful of years ago, again, because of the president's focus, means that America has fertilizer when a lot of the other countries do not because of what's happening over in the Middle East. Having said that, I think that was Steve Moore I heard talking. What he said was correct, that the increase in price has been significant. But I do want to double back about during the Biden years, fertilizer had already jumped 40%. So our farmers are really feeling this. This is a really, really tough time for fertilizer. For those that didn't pre-book in the fall, a lot of them did, but not all of them, especially in the South.
But what's the plan?
We have lifted the Jones Act. We have opened up, we've lifted the Jones Act. We've opened up a line from Venezuela.
What does the LNG exporting have anything to do with our fertilizer supply?
Byproducts of LNG are used in urea. It's urea. Urea is a byproduct of LNG, and it's a main component in fertilizer.
Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yes, so next clip in this sequence, and by the way, I want to dispel something here. You know, the first breathless guy presented what Fox News wants their viewership to understand, and that is, oh my God, food prices are going to go through the roof because of fertilizer. We know from coverage that we've done here on the Millennial Media Offensive in the past, the United States has an adequate stock. Even farmers themselves, most of them have an adequate stock of fertilizer. It's only certain types of supplemental fertilizers that they can do without, that they're prone to being without because of cost. And the farmer who we brought to the show, I tried to find the clip. I couldn't remember what I titled it. But basically, his point was the basics, we have the basics. The supplemental fertilizers that have gotten so expensive that we can't afford if we don't have them stocked, they're not necessary. Sure, they help yields, but they're not necessary. So this isn't really anything to freak out over the way Fox News wants to present it.
Have they turned on Trump?
No. They just want people to tune in.
To be scared.
Yeah. So the second clip is what's the plan? So Stuart is going to push her on what's the plan.
Yeah, but what's the plan?
Yes, go ahead, Stuart.
I mean, but what is the plan to deal with rising fertilizer costs, which will lead to rising... You've had lots of meetings. What's the plan?
That's right. So that's what I was walking through. So for the short term, lifting the Jones Act, which is very important, opening up additional lines. We've got more lines coming in from Venezuela. We are making permitting easier so we can begin to move it more quickly. We have had meeting after meeting. Lee Zeldin at EPA has lifted some some diesel exhaust fuel rules so that makes it cheaper, the urea here in America. And then what it's done for the long term and shining a light on this massive issue for our farmers is we have to reshore fertilizer back to America. We've been relying on Russia and China and some other countries. So reinvesting, reshoring in the fertilizer infrastructure in our country so that we can continue to rely. And if this happens again, we're going to be ready. But for the short term, we've gotten our arms around it. I'm in Missouri tomorrow with some farmers talking about it more in depth. We're going to be hyper focused on bringing those costs down for our farmers and having a back end opportunity there as well we'll be talking about.
We don't want your back end, lady, and it's Missouri.
Yes, it is Missouri. Okay, last clip in this segment is probably the most important, definitely the most important. One farmer, one file. What company has the government partnered with to create one farmer, one file?
Oh, man. Monsanto.
No. Play it if you want.
Palantir.
You want to guess again. Palantir.
There it
you
is.
Go.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Secretary, your department just announced a partnership with Palantir. What kind of support will Palantir give to farmers? How will the relationship work?
Well, this is a one farmer, one file. And when we looked back, Doge came in early last year. Doge, under Elon Musk, did a wonderful job of helping us recalibrate USDA around the farmer instead of around DEI and climate change. But what we realized is that we had more than 1,000 contractors spending more than $1 billion with 500 IT systems, one layered on top of the other. And as farmers are working through the programs at USDA, whatever that may be, conservation, bridge payments, etc., it was a mess. Our technology was a mess. So we launched One Farmer, One File a couple of months ago, allowing farmers to use their phones. They don't have to go into their local offices. If they choose, there will still be local offices. And Stuart, let me tell you, in 4 days, in the last big program we announced, we had 50,000 farmers sign up in 4 days versus last year, without that partnership, it was 5,000 farmers over a period of 6 months. So this is going to make farming easier, more productive, more efficient. Instead of them filling out reams of paperwork, they're going to be able to use the technology, again, if they choose, to make sure that they're being able to do what they do best, which is farm and feed our country.
Madam Secretary, thank you very much for being with us today. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it's not going to make farming easier.
No, I was going to say. Are they coming out there and helping you pick rocks out of the field or what?
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to point out that the fertilizer talk is now in the mainstream, and it's wrong, of course.
But of course. Yeah, I was buying about CF, a fertilizer stock based on this analysis, and I haven't been disappointed so far.
Well, I'm glad. I'll be expecting my royalty check.
It's coming with your quiet mouse.
Okay. The only other thing I have, I think we should talk about the. I don't have a clip, but I think we should talk about the member of the military who's been indicted for insider betting, because it's not really trading.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, the Polymarkets guy who made like 400,000.
Yes, on the capture of Nicolas Maduro,
which is like, pennies compared to what our members of Congress are doing.
Yeah, that's been my constant joke. IRL is, well, he should have ran for Congress if he wanted to do that.
It's a good one because it's it highlights the hypocrisy. Last week we were talking about, which I ended up ultimately being wrong, but the short in the futures market, there was no, unless you knew something like the UAE was going to leave OPEC, there was no reason to short oil futures at all. Nothing was given. Everything suggested that oil prices were going high and they were going to be higher. So to short them, short the futures made no sense. So it was clearly insider trading or, just pure government manipulation. But no one's going to go to jail for that, even though everyone sees it as this trade made no sense. There's no shortage of analysis on it. So it pisses me off. And when I first heard this, I said, arrested on what charges? Like, what law did he break? Evidently, you can't place bets on Polymarket based on your know of informational operations.
Yeah, it's privileged information.
Well, that's horse malarkey.
Well, I mean, it is what it is. You're not supposed to benefit on this information that you get in the course of doing your duties. But I think the Trump administration is going to, I don't know, I don't think there'll be blowback, but I think a lot of people in the military are looking at this with a side eye of saying, I thought you were looking out for us. Can't you just make this go away? Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's the way I'd feel about it if someone was willing to take a chance with their own money. It's not like he used government money to do this.
Right. I don't know. I think if Trump, some of the bad's got to happen. If he needs a good distraction, I think that would be a good one. Giving the presidential pardon to this guy.
Yeah, I don't think it would fly.
Probably not. It's more egg on face for what's his name? Hegseth. What's his nickname?
Speaking of Keg's breath.
No, it's something else. Less creative than that. It was like California, whatever, or Florida.
Okay.
I can't remember, but anyways, go ahead.
Speaking of Hegseth, the last thing I have tonight is a deconstruction of the leftists dunking on Pete Hegseth because he unknowingly quoted a movie when he was conducting a prayer at a prayer breakfast at the Pentagon. Have you seen these clips?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I called the clip that was going around was overlaid with the scene from the movie, but I just have Hegseth himself. So tell me if you recognize this line that he uses in the CSAR 2517 hack clip.
So the prayer is CSAR 2517, and it reads, and pray with me, please. The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee. And amen.
I think the term is brother's keeper.
What do you mean the term?
I don't know. What did you ask me to see if I noticed what the quote was?
What movie is that line from? There's a movie where one of the main characters says a prayer or a recites a verse of the Bible very similar to that. And that was the joke everyone was making. Oh, Pete Hegseth, he thought he was reading a Bible verse, but he was reading a fake Bible verse from Pulp Fiction.
Oh. Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen that.
So anyway, I brought the full clip just in case we wanted a little explanation. Of course, it's cut out in any of the posts that are dunking on the Secretary of Defense. But
to be fair,
this is
like the Elon Omar, where she instantly corrects herself and says World War II.
Yeah, but he didn't make a mistake. This is actually play the full clip. It's actually a thing in the military. It's not something he brought out.
I got you.
So this prayer was recited by Sandy 1, which is one of the Sandys, to all Sandys, all those A-10 crews, prior to all CSAR missions, but especially this CSAR mission that happened in real time. They call it CSAR 2517, which I think is meant to reflect Ezekiel 2517. So the prayer is CSAR 2517, and it reads, and pray with me, please. The path of the downed aviator is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who, in the name of camaraderie and duty, shepherd the lost through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to capture and destroy my brother. And you will know my call sign is Sandy 1 when I lay my vengeance upon thee. And amen.
So there you have it. It's something that it's a thing with these Overwatch groups that he was highlighting, the Sandys. They're the search and rescue support planes, the A-10 Warhogs that were laying down fire to provide a shield between the people who were rescuing the downed aviators and the enemy in Iran.
You ever play Modern Warfare 2?
A long time ago.
There's like a mission where you're in an A-10 and you can like cycle through the various guns and you got to protect your guys on the ground trying to escape out of the extraction zone. And
yeah, you play as a Sandy.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I'm familiar with
There you
it
go.
because of that.
Yeah. Well, this isn't. I mean, shocker. The rabid leftists online are lying.
Well, I didn't want to play it because it was kind of boring, but the DW did a post, and I'll just kind of explain it about boomers and Gen X and how a lot of these like online safety resources are spent towards the younger generations. And they were saying that boomers and Gen X are shockingly just as prone. This is the term they use, just as prone to believing disinformation on the internet as the younger generations. And it fits into this because it's kind of, that highly edited information to make somebody look like an idiot. You believe it. And then, when you actually pull out and listen to the context of it, it's not what you think. But that's, this kind of disinformation that flits around like this, the information warfare, to get people on your team. And it's just consumed and eaten up and loved by people that are already in that echo chamber. So I'm not going to make you sit through 10 minutes of these clips to get that same message. But the solution the lady applies out is like, maybe with these information campaigns, you could add like Pink Floyd music to it. So the older generations are more attracted to it. The whole story's super dumb. I was like, I don't even know why I'm continuing to cut this up as I was cutting it up. But my last clip for this evening is David Cross on Bill Maher's Club Random. And I think it's interesting because it does highlight kind of the disconnect on the left, and I think Bill Maher does a really good job of explaining to David Cross why he's so disassociated with reality, and why it does not help people on the left of the aisle. And so people have probably seen this, but I think it happened today, so it's pretty interesting. And David Cross, for those that don't know, is the guy from best known for probably Arrested Development. He's the anal rapist. Mm-hmm. He blew himself. Yeah, those jokes. So,
Never Nude.
He's a Never Nude too. Tobias Funk, I believe, is the character's name.
Yes.
So here he is on Bill Maher, and they're discussing a couple of things. I had to bleep out the part where David Cross calls his own daughter a B, and says F that B about his own daughter. Apparently joking, but here we go.
You need to be checked. People need to be checked.
I think they'll be...
including your little girl.
Okay.
She needs to be checked. I don't know what...
That bitch. That little bitch with her black friends and trans friends and not even understanding. She doesn't know.
Wait, she has trans friends in third grade?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, they know they're trans in third grade.
I knew one of her friends. I knew when he was a girl.
How old?
I think just turned 9, and is just the coolest kid. I think
boy to girl, girl to boy?
Girl to boy.
Girl to boy, okay.
And she has another very close friend who's not in this school, but who's boy to girl at 3.
But girl to boy, I knew.
At 3 years old.
Somebody who said to me, actually more than one person who said to me, a woman said, I was what they called a tomboy. If I was alive now and acted the way I did then, that's what they would have done to me.
Well, nobody's doing this to her.
Well, I don't know.
Literally, nobody is doing this to her.
How old?
She is, or he is, either 8 or I think 9.
Okay, then somebody is doing something because 8 or 9-year-olds can't. No, you know what they're doing? Can't do anything on their own.
No, they're buying them boys' clothes.
Well, then they're doing something. They're doing.
Sure. Yes, you're right. They're buying them boys' clothes
and telling them you're a boy now.
No, they're not telling them. They're just agreeing with. They're like going.
Well, they're
okay,
agreeing
honey.
with an 8-year-old because when has their judgment ever been off at 8?
You knew
Anyway,
you weren't gay, right?
That's.
It's not different.
It is different.
No, it isn't.
It's okay.
Most men
Good luck
are.
with President Vance, because as I always say to my woke friends, we voted for the same person. You're just why she lost. And this is a case of that.
Wait, what?
Any person that
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
I'll play it continue because he has to explain it to David Cross. He doesn't understand. You know, we both voted for Kamala Harris. You're the reason why she lost. He can't get there because he's so wrapped up in his own bubble.
We voted for the same person.
Right.
You're just why she lost. Because America hears this and they're going to go, Bill's right. 8-year-olds can't really make decisions on their own like this. That's what most people are going to say. And this is where the Democrats are, with David Cross living in Brooklyn, with Mandami Loving. And this is why, we're going to vote for J.D. Vance. And that's
I don't think
that's
it's
America in a nutshell.
I don't.
Doesn't mean I don't love you.
Bill's right. He is right. I don't know about J.D. Vance. I think everyone is trying to avoid that. But he's right on that regard of this is where the left loses people.
Well, you know the problem I have with this whole transgender under 10 issue? It really challenges my opposition to the death penalty.
Because clearly somebody's taking this kid and saying, you're a girl. And just agreeing with it.
And my instinct is that they should be punished as harshly as possible.
I'm with you on that. Yeah. David Cross is, he is a symptom of society. And this is this Disaffected show, which I've now mentioned for the third time. I listened to it when I cut the lawn. I really enjoy it. This is the kind of stuff that he analyzes and he talks about it. And he talks about these men and kind of the similar men that we were talking about earlier, the straight guys that are actually gay. He talks about where these people live in this bubble and, they have their tail between their legs and pretty much whatever their wife says goes when it comes to politics. And this guy, I forget what show he was on or who he even was, but basically said he's afraid to mention anything in his household because when he said, like Kamala Harris lost and he suggested that it was the Democrats' fault, his wife physically slapped him. And he went on a podcast and said this aloud to people as if he has no shame about that instance, about his wife physically slapping him after he uttered the fact that it could possibly be the Democrats' fault that Kamala Harris lost. And it's just like, that is the David Cross people. And these are, when I'm talking about my friends that are straight but gay, this is a different level of it. The coasters.
You're totally feminized.
Exactly. And this whole
totally feminized.
This whole idea,
well,
the trans kid that she knows is just the coolest kid. Why? Why David Cross? Why are they the coolest kid? Is it because they're trans? Because that's kind of what you're saying.
Is it because the adults give more credence to them because they satisfy what the adults think the world should be? And so the kids look at the adults doing that and then follow their lead. Is that why, David?
You're so brave. They're being themselves. They're so just courageous in their own skin. And that's the kind of narrative, that Reddit left-wing gross narrative that leads to the normalization of what is weird. And this guy, this Josh Holcomb on Disaffected, calls this the moral reversal, where, people talk about slut shaming or fat shaming. He goes, the only people that deserve shame are the sluts, are the fat people, right? You didn't make them sluts. You didn't make them fat. They did. And so as a society, we've reversed the morals where now you're in the wrong for taking offense to somebody that has done something to themselves. You have to apologize for your causing of the fat. And, it's not a healthy view. Fat is beautiful. Ugly people are fat people are healthy, and ugly people are beautiful. And he just talks about the general moral reversal and how we have no longer this kind of concept of any sort of moral ground from which we can judge, unless it is from this all-inclusive, you're doing you, and that's great. And unless I come from a Christian perspective, you're okay. And it's just this really interesting kind of, Cotton calls it affirmation denial. And it is manifested in the left. And I think a certain faction, and I think this is where we need to be weary, is a certain faction like Captain Hairgel in California, Gavin Newsom. I think people like him recognize this. He recognizes the overall feminization of the left, and he's going to try to be that center balance where he's a real man. He's shot a gun before. The left put Tim Walz together and said he's like an everyman. And, anybody that watched him load a shotgun and shoot it was like, that guy doesn't know what he's doing.
You know what the problem with Tim Walz was, right?
What's that?
He was too masculine to motivate the left to vote.
That's right. That's right. When he came out on stage and did that open-close hand wave,
Yeah.
You're just like, this guy, that's a game over. I don't know. So I guess I've just been thinking a lot about...
So the question I want you to ruminate on, and maybe you have an answer for me, and these are the kind of things that I wrestle with, because I have to have conflict. And I don't have conflict outwardly in my life because I want to provide a stable environment for my family.
Mm-hmm.
But I have mental conflicts constantly because I love that chaos. I love challenging myself in what reality is, what I think about reality, and how I project it out, and whether or not I can accurately project it out and put myself in the shoes and in the mind of other people and understand the way that they're viewing the reality. And then getting around to, well, how do I, knowing who I am, how do I respond to those people, knowing what I know about them and what I've challenged myself on about them? And I know that's kind of a jumble of things to say, but basically, I'm always challenging myself on how I deal with people that I disagree with, and I always want to feel like I know the most about how they feel. So I'm always trying to put myself in their shoes and learn what they're learning, learn what they're feeling, and really, honestly, I consider it to be a really genuine attempt at empathy to try to better prepare myself to live with these people. So, we both consider ourselves Christians.
Yes.
How do you handle these people while following the teachings of Christ? Because my gut reaction to these people is they're a danger to me, my progeny, and my progeny's progeny. As long as their ideas are there, it's a danger to me and my family and our way of life. That's my gut reaction to these kind of things. But when I look to what I know to be the optimal way to interact with other human beings in the example that is Christ himself, the answer forces me to rely on faith, that it's all going, there's a plan, and it's all going to work out, victory in the end. And that's tough.
It really is. There was a brief glint of hope where we shut the door of like the progressive, the adding letters to the LGBTQ. It was like, everyone looked at transgenderism and said no, right? this is too far.
Politically. That's where we let our guard down, because we saw it recede politically, but not culturally.
And how do we get it out culturally?
I mean, if I give you what the first thing that comes to mind after thinking about this for way too long for probably this to be my measured answer, it's be mean.
So, I mean, look at what happened in Iran, right? It was the youth. They said this current system is too messed up. We can't take it anymore. We need to overthrow the Shah, and what gets implemented instead now becomes this overly suppressive. And so, what people don't know about the overthrowing of the Shah is the people that led the revolution were incredibly liberal college students in Iran. This is what happened. And
we've talked about this, yes.
The religious leaders get elected, and it like cracks down, and they lose all of their freedoms. And that's what I am worried about here happening. About we get in some radical...
The dominionists.
Exactly. Then they take them up. It's like the Mom Donnie kind of theory that Fox News has probably been spouting about for months. So he's a radical Islam. But, you know, like we start electing people like that, and before you know it, it just becomes this ultra, well, you know, Christianity's terrible, but, you know, these poor Muslim people have been discriminated against. Let's have them run the country. And then, you know, we see what it's like living in Sharia law like England is experiencing. And so that's what I'm worried. I'm worried about the Englification of America. If I don't stand up, if I'm not the guy taking a stand, the painting.
You know, the problem with this, the problem in my problem is that there's no state that I can effectively rely. There's no state that I can effectively rely on to enforce my ethics. So then it falls back on me as an individual. And as an individual, I know what I'm taught. I know what I'm called to do and how I'm called to treat other human beings. And I think the difference between now and Christian societies of the past, one is many of them were not even close to as ideologically or racially or ethnically diverse. So this was limited. But that's just a fact of the modern world. I mean, you can't go back to that. We're not going to go back to ethnocentric states. It's not going to happen. But what you did have, even in multi-ethnic societies, like Sicily is a great example of a Christian state that had a multi-ethnic population and ruled it effectively. And basically, I think what made it different is that even those who weren't Christian, who were in that society, were ethical. They had a system of ethics that allowed them to actively participate and productively participate in that society. When you're advocating and trying to convince the children of people you don't know, who are nothing like you, to sterilize themselves, you can't effectively and productively participate in that society with those people.
Those people are called advocates, John.
I don't care what you call them.
In the moral reversal world, they're advocates.
Right. But I don't care. My point is, if in Sicily, say, there had been a moral issue where someone was doing something appropriate for the time that we can compare to what's happening now with the transgender movement, that would have been brutally and quickly snuffed out. You saw it with heresies. They were snuffed. And it kept individual Christians from having to deal with that. We don't have that today. We don't have a state that will do that service for us. And I'm not saying it's right that a state would do that. And to your point, I think when you empower a state to enforce your ethics, you're on that slippery slope of becoming what used to be a few months ago Iran. So there are big questions here, and to the point that we've made in the past of America having no ethos, no unifying ethics. These are the big questions that if we had representatives and an ethos and representatives that understood the ethos of the people, those questions would be what they were concerned about. But they're not. So it falls back on the individuals. And I don't like what that means for the wider reception of true Christian theology. Because to me anyway, I shouldn't speak for everyone, but to me, true Christian theology is following the example of Christ, full stop. It is treating people the way Christ would have treated them. And sometimes that feels like handing over everything that we have to people who we know are going to destroy it.
Yeah, I have that. I struggle with that feeling too, a lot, of wanting to do something else. You know, but there are beliefs in that are just incompatible with Christianity. Like the sterilization of children, or anybody really, is incompatible with Christianity. Go forth and multiply.
Well, that's where I made the joke about it challenging my opposition to the death penalty.
Right.
My advocacy, to use a term, for labor camps is very much from a Christian perspective. I don't think we have the right to take someone else's life unless ours is in danger. I mean, I don't think we have the right to murder. And if you're not actively being threatened, I think you could argue that that's murder. Even if it's carried out by the state, that doesn't make it ethically correct. So it may sound funny to a lot of people, but we talk all the time about how it's a new era in geopolitics. The world has changed, and anyone who's talking about things the way they were 15 years ago, you're not talking about the same world. That applies to culture and cultural ethics as well.
Agreed.
The world has changed. You can't talk about the world in the same way that you would have 15, 20 years ago, culturally or ethically. You've got to snap out of it and think about these things in new ways, because the old ways, they got us here. So my conclusion about, everyone that we would send to the electric chair or the firing squad, which has come up recently, should labor. They should labor and be given the chance to ruminate on what they've done in their life and be given the chance to find redemption on their own while they labor for the crimes they've committed. And I arrived at that from a Christian perspective. And you could even have a nice little sign that says, "Work will set you free."
I was going to say, how do you think it was from a Christian perspective that the Kim family in North Korea arrived at that same perspective?
I don't know, but I don't care. I don't let the actions of others or the failures of others color the things that I think are ethically correct. Just because it gets a bad rap. I mean, you could even, with this reversal that your podcaster guy that you listen to says, a lot of people have even gone as far to say, well, if you say that it's wrong, then it's probably right. And so that there's an element of that here ethically, where if everyone says we shouldn't use labor camps instead of the death penalty, well, then maybe it's right to do that because everyone says it's wrong. And it's really, we a long time ago, we used to talk about the turning, these turnings, the fourth turning. That's really what it feels like. It feels like everything's being turned upside down on its head, and we're having to make sense of it.
I think it's clear that we're probably in the fall of, the fourth turning.
But, and I want to be very clear about this point. You only make sense of this. We don't make sense of it just by thinking about it and, mental masturbation about it. You make sense of it by talking about it with other people and honing those ideas into something actionable and, sadly, in today's world, marketable, which is where I struggle.
Yeah, it's a hard sell. It's a hard sell. Cottongen says exile is another option, and I was thinking about England.
Well, they just come back.
England and Australia is interesting, and then you're like, well, maybe that's why Trump wanted Greenland. That'd be great. Greenland.
I think Madagascar should be our next target.
I thought about Madagascar too. I couldn't do that to those poor African people.
Well, I think we've given the people plenty to think about.
I think so too. It was a good diatribe. I like that discussion. I think a lot of people like that discussion. But as all good discussions, it must come to an end. Hell yeah, 216. What a fireball. What a great show. Tell your friends.
I have it. We'll call them Redemption Retreats.
Redemption Retreats. It's literally The Handmaid's Tale. It's got to be an acronym that spells... So, there's been a lot of talk this week about wanting to rename ICE to NICE.
Yes, I saw that. It's hilarious.
It turns out Trump stole that joke from somebody else, but it's still pretty funny. But I think it's got to be an acronym that kind of sounds friendly, like...
Reflection Retreats.
Yeah, but it spells trans or something like that. Theocratic realignment. I don't know. We'll get there.
Assistance seminars. Well, I went and did it. I opened up on the internet.
There you go. Feels good. Feels good to get it off your chest. I have a hard time putting a lot of these things to words. I will say, though, having listened to it and doing a lot of this thinking, my yard looks great. I've just been putting all that thinking time into my yard work time. Feels good, man.
There's a really good quote, and I forget who said it, but, the problem with populism is that a good populist leader gives the people populism good and hard, but the people never want populism good and hard. They just want populism.
That is pretty good. From St. Louis, Missouri, I have been Dan Gehring.
And from somewhere on America's South Coast, it's none of your business, I've been John G. Dew.
I know. I'm going to divulge your secret. He lives in the heart of Georgia. Follow Jesus, get a gun. MMO out. There you go. We're pretty much like Canary Cry Radio now. Follow Jesus and get a gun. They do everything except the gun part. Yeah, I did see what I wanted to get. What Serpent said in there: God affirming yards. All right, everybody, time for the gay yard. Ooh, sha-la-la-la. Let's see this. I'm sure the title list will be stunning. Title list. Happening. Diplomatic slap. Pulling out. The C stands for cartel. So much winning. World War 11. 11 Han. Should have trusted the PSYOP. Dog pilling. Podcast to Stan. Dog pilling's funny. Internet facts. Fact of the internet. Most men are gay. Gay. Tranny voice assistant. My tranny voice assistant. Touchy sissy agency. And doing African stuff.
I think dog pilling is close to the top.
I think so too. I like that one.
I think you put a hyphen so people recognize it's not dog piling, dog pilling.
DOG hyphen pilling.
Yeah, PILLING.
Yep, I'm familiar with pilling. Let's see here.
You're like you said, baseless. We do nothing wrong. And then you get this a week. Oh, well, I guess it's fixed.
We got it. Hey, about that vote tomorrow.
They were telling Hungary, no, we're not doing anything. This is all Russian attacks. We're not manipulating the flows.
We do nothing wrong, I think is what I marked there.
Yeah, probably. Support this.
I know. This is, I mean, you joke, John, but when we do this kind of stuff, people are always like, I agree. Most straight guys are gay.
Most men are gay. Most men are gay.
Exactly. Guys are gay.
Most
gay.
Most men are gay.
Exactly.
I knew you stepped on it.
Yeah. And it's like disproportionately white guys, which is just so disheartening.
It really is. It really makes you want to embrace. It really makes you want to embrace ethnic pride to try to instill some in others.
White pride?
Did I say that?
Well, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I'm white, right? And I can't have pride in that.
What?
Because that's racist. And okay, well, let's fall back to my ethnic makeup. Oh, I'm German. I can't have pride in that. That's Nazis. What else? I'm Italian. Oh, well, they were friends with the Nazis, and they're hairy. It's just like, where do I belong? And then every Sunday I remember, oh, yes, thank you, Jesus. I'm here in this church. But yeah, it is disheartening because it's like, come on. What?
You get
like we can't have a cohesion. We can't do anything if you're instantly selling out for the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're ashamed. They're ashamed of themselves. David Cross is like, he's an extreme, but he is symbolic of a system that, somebody produced that. This is the kind of people we're producing now. And a fucking Instagram story of a girl and her and her husband are comparing their top, favorite Taylor Swift tracks on the new album. It's like, come on, man. He knows more about sports than I do, though, so good for him. Oh, people are thinking we should do the wait what. David Cross's wait what is the intro. Wait, what? I'm not opposed to putting segments of clips as like our intro.
To me and my perspective.
Well, fat people are healthy. And says.
So anyway, I brought the full clip just in case we wanted a little explanation.
And
now they're trans in 3rd grade.
I knew doing this
8 or 9-year-old.
Wait, what?
That's why she lost. And this is a case of that.
Wait, what?
Any person that
what?
Yeah. Damn it. Stepped on that one too. But I think just his.
Wait, what?
That's fine.
Wait, what? Wait, what?
You can extend that silence out by a second after he says it.
I agree.
Wait, what?
Systems go.
Oh, it's the other track.
Wait, what?
Kind of want to clean up that audio here and just do silence. I love in Audacity you can generate like tones or beeps to bleep out stuff, but you can also generate silence. And whenever you can generate a sound, it always says, would you like to preview it? So like you can preview the silence that you're generating, which is kind of hilarious because, it's just silence.
Wait, what?
Yeah, but that clip doesn't have actual silence after his.
Right. It's like, there's a little bit of.
She does correct herself, but that's
right
not
after
worth
it,
much.
Yeah. I cut that out. It was in the clip. I cut it out.
Yes, and by the way, it is not pronounced Ilhan. I learned this today. It's 11han.
11han. Perfect.
Okay.
Just cutting out that little crispy section. Okay.
Are coming to that the people of it must be
Wait, what?
It must be
little too long.
Wait, what?
It must be quite apparent by this time to any thinking individual that the people of our country and people of other countries all over the world are coming to face a moment of grave decision.
Wait, what? I thought we were supposed to be on the same team, Bill. You can't criticize me. Dog pilling. And wait, what? Did we get any art? I didn't have my email open. Mail. Oh, we need you to verify that it's you logging into this computer email account again. Because, it might not be you. Even though you've been logging into this account for 5 years on this computer from this address, we need to verify that it's actually you again. We got one from Colin Schultz. We're out of fertilizer. Put this on. It's a funny piece.
Yeah.
What do we get from Chuck 'em Along?
I don't get the reference here.
He's digging a hole. Let's see what the file names are. Pipe 2, pipe 1. Oh, it's my gay neighbor. Pretty much.
Oh. I think Colin Schultz's is more topical.
Yeah. We don't want to. We don't put.
I like Chuck 'em Longs better.
Yeah. Put this on, Fed. We're out of fertilizer. We got to share them with some people here.
Bed jacketing is more topical. Colin Schultz's is better quality. I'm gonna let you and the people decide. I have to help Taylor with Cameron.
Okay. Okie dokie.
They've arrived a little bit earlier, or we talked a little longer than I thought we did.
I think we talked longer than we usually do.
Okay. Well, I hate to hop during production, but
You're good.
we got most of it done.
Yes, sir. I'll put the art up to a vote.
Okay. See you next Tuesday.
See ya next Tuesday. Good show. Wait, what? Oh, Ned wanted that as the title. I see. Well, you picked a good intro, so thank you. See what those bull after bull guys are doing.
I did it intentionally that way. Like, I wanted nothing in there.
Okay.
There's not even a file name. And so the idea, like, because we already have Noster.
Right.
We already have a kind of pseudo social media discoverability platform.
Sure.
And if it was like, if you
Pick
had
your
this
favorite.
concept of like, who's sharing the blobs or can you zap a blob or anything like that, that would just be metadata. I'd just be recreating Noster.
Right.
And so you can, like, if you take the blob and like, again, the blob's just a hash.
Sure.
Hash is just an idea of a file. And you put it into another system. You put it into Noster. Then you can have, like, you put into like a Noster event. Like, this represents.
Why is this guy saying Noster?
Then you can zap that. You can share it. You can like it. You can replicate that. And then as that event moves around, maybe the servers copy the hash too. As you said, it gets on other people's servers and all that. But that was one of the, I think that was one of the, I've lost for words, but key points of, I hate to say why Blossom take it off. I don't know. It's why so many people, I guess, are excited about it. Is that there's nothing to it. It's just, I mean, it's just a way of like HTTP endpoints. It's just how you upload